You think vintage American cooking was just bland roasts and canned vegetables? Think again. Home cooks created recipes so flavorful and clever, they deserve rescue from dusty cookbooks. Let's dig into 100 vintage American recipes no one makes anymore. Shrimp and grits. Quick Bowl delivered coastal comfort with pantry convenience, turning pre-cooked shrimp and instant grits into a 10-minute feast. Water boiled while butter melted in a skillet, where garlic and a pinch of paprika released a smoky aroma. The shrimp, already cooked and cleaned, were tossed in the sizzling butter until warmed through and lightly seasoned with lemon juice. Instant grits whisked in another pot thickened in minutes, creamy and soft with a touch of salt. The hot grits were spooned into bowls and topped with the buttery shrimp and their flavorful drippings. A sprinkle of chopped green onions or parsley added a fresh finish. Despite the short cooking time, the dish tasted like a slow weekend brunch by the shore. Families loved how it brought a touch of luxury to a busy weeknight, proving that quick meals could still feel special and deeply satisfying when simple ingredients were treated with care and attention. Ginger ale. Ice cream float pie turned a favorite soda shop treat into a picnic-ready dessert. A graham cracker crust was pressed firmly into a pie pan and chilled while vanilla ice cream softened slightly on the counter. The ice cream was then mixed with bubbly ginger ale until smooth and lightly frothy, creating a creamy filling with a gentle spice and fizz. This mixture was poured into the crust and left to firm in the icebox until ready to serve. Just before cutting, a thin layer of whipped cream was spread across the top and sprinkled with crushed ginger snaps for extra crunch. Each slice tasted like an old-fashioned float, cool and sweet with a hint of ginger warmth. Because it required no baking and could be prepared hours ahead, it became a go-to dessert for hot summer gatherings. Children loved the effervescent flavor, while adults appreciated the nostalgic nod to soda fountain days. It captured the playful side of church picnics, where families mingled under the trees and every dish held a touch of celebration. Date and orange marmalade. Sandwich combined the deep caramel sweetness of cooked dates with the bright citrus zing of orange marmalade to create a filling that tasted like sunshine captured between two slices of wheat bread. Home cooks discovered it through women's magazines in the 1940s when sugar shortages made dates a practical, natural sweetener. The marmalade added a fragrant bitterness that balanced the richness of the dates, turning each bite into a layered experience of sweet tart and slightly bitter flavors, often served at afternoon teas and bridal showers. The sandwich brought a touch of elegance without expensive ingredients. Its vibrant color and unique taste impressed guests who expected plain fare, but instead found something sophisticated. It kept well without refrigeration, which made it ideal for picnics and train journeys. Though rarely seen today, the date and orange marmalade sandwich remains a reminder of a time when simple pantry staples could become a striking treat worthy of any gathering. Creamed peas on toast turned a bag of frozen peas and a little flour into a fast dinner that warmed the evening. Butter melted in a skillet while a spoonful of flour was whisked in to make a smooth roux. Then milk streamed in to form a creamy sauce. The peas went straight from freezer to pan, bright green against the pale gravy as they softened and released their sweetness. Thick slices of bread toasted in the same pan or under a quick broiler became the foundation, soaking up the sauce while staying crisp at the edges. A sprinkle of black pepper and a pinch of nutmeg gave the dish surprising depth, proof that simple pantry ingredients could still feel indulgent. Families loved how it filled plates in less than 10 minutes and cost almost nothing, making it a dependable weeknight standby. Children liked the mild flavor and the fun of cutting through the soft bread with a fork, while adults found comfort in its quiet, creamy richness. One bite carried the memory of suppers built on thrift and ingenuity, a reminder that speed and satisfaction can share the same plate when time and money are scarce, but hunger is real. Speaking of casserole, it's hard not to mention Johnny Marzetti. No, I'm not talking about some famous A-list actor. I'm talking about the Marzetti's restaurant in Columbus, Ohio, which was top dog for a long time and made the infamous Johnny Marzetti. It was an affordable and popular dish for families and potlucks, and it was basically Ohio's version of comfort food. This was entirely a ground beef and macaroni casserole with tomato sauce, some vegetables, and cheese. It had most of the same things you needed to make any casserole work. Brown the beef, put extra work into the fillings and the vegetables, but this time around, you could make the pasta at the same time as the beef too. That helped a lot in saving time, and the oven being the last stop in the recipe also made it convenient since the bulk of your work was done on pans and pots on the stove. There's a reason casseroles were such big hits in America's cuisine, and it's because the entire format of a casserole was perfect for the pre-modern era. You didn't have even a quarter of the fancy kitchen tools we're so spoiled by and used to today, so people pretty much relied on dishes that needed 1 or 2 appliances and had big potential to feed an entire family. Tomato and sugar. Open-faced sandwiches were one of those quirky summer snacks that showed up when gardens were full, money was tight, and lunch had to be quick and simple. You sliced a fresh tomato, buttered a piece of bread, sprinkled sugar over the top, and that was it. A little sweet, a little juicy, and ready in minutes. It sounds strange today, but back then, this was a familiar plate across farm towns and small kitchens all over America. The tomatoes were easy to grow, the bread stretched what you had, and the sugar turned it into a treat that brightened up long summer days. Families leaned on recipes like this when grocery lists were short, and mealtime had to be stretched with what was already growing out back. You would find this simple snack scribbled in old cookbooks, passed around at neighborhood picnics, or taught to kids as one of their first kitchen lessons. It might seem forgotten now, but for plenty of folks back then, tomato and sugar sandwiches were a fast, filling reminder of how far a little garden and a little creativity could go. Cheesy cauliflower gratin was a rich and indulgent vegetable side that found a special place in many vintage kitchens. Tender cauliflower florets were smothered in a creamy, cheesy sauce before being baked under a crispy layer of toasted breadcrumbs. This gratin was a perfect example of comfort food, combining the mild flavor of cauliflower with the lusciousness of melted cheese and a golden, crunchy top. Betty Crocker cookbooks featured this dish as a versatile accompaniment for both everyday meals and holiday feasts. Its creamy texture and cheesy goodness made it a hit with both children and adults, especially those who might usually shy away from vegetables. The gratin's warm, bubbling surface was a welcome sight at any dinner table, signaling a dish full of hearty flavor and home-style care. This recipe demonstrated how simple vegetables could be transformed into something special and satisfying, making cheesy cauliflower gratin a nostalgic classic worth revisiting. Creamed corn and hot dog skillet might raise a few eyebrows today, but back then it was pure practicality in a pan. You sliced up hot dogs, tossed them in a skillet, and poured in a can of creamed corn. It bubbled and thickened in minutes, turning into this sweet, salty, creamy meal that filled everyone up fast. You would not find it in fancy cookbooks or glossy magazines, but you would definitely see it scribbled onto a recipe card tucked in Grandma's kitchen drawer. It made use of cheap pantry staples, stretched meat farther, and showed up on busy nights when nobody wanted to cook. Kids loved the weird sweetness, parents loved how far a can of corn could go, and it all came together in under 10 minutes. It sounds strange now, but for families watching every penny, it was comfort food that made do with what little they had. Another forgotten quick fix that quietly slipped off dinner tables over time. Foreign or not, American eating in the 20th century was all about convenience and was the start of the trends we have today. Things like stuffed chicken rolls were the best appetizers and something that any house party or family gathering wasn't completely without, and they ironically had no need for a microwave. Even after it was invented, people rarely ever used it for their chicken rolls, except to reheat leftovers. The chicken breasts needed to be pounded thin, and then the filling was meticulous with things like spinach, ham, and breadcrumbs. The rolling was something you also really ended up paying a lot of attention to too. What people remember the most when it comes to a good chicken roll is that delicious browning on the top, and that's something you'd only get by cooking it lightly on a stove or baking it in the oven. All in all, you were looking at an hour of work for a good batch of chicken rolls. Now, you might be thinking what part of this is convenient, but you gotta give it credit for the time it was set in. This was a whole platter of appetizers in like an hour max. Nowadays, some people use microwaves to brown things, but the kind you can get from an oven is completely different, and this was a really traditional dish built to rely on simple kitchen tools. Fish stick. Po' boy brought a taste of the Gulf Coast to busy kitchens using only what sat in the freezer. Packaged fish sticks baked or pan-fried until their coating turned golden and crunchy, while soft sandwich rolls warmed in the oven. Tartar sauce was stirred together with chopped pickles, a squeeze of lemon, and a little mustard, filling the kitchen with a tangy scent. Shredded lettuce and thin tomato slices waited on the counter, ready to add freshness and color. As soon as the fish sticks finished, they were stacked inside the rolls, drizzled with the cool sauce and topped with the crisp vegetables. The contrast of hot, flaky fish and chilled toppings tasted like a seaside lunch, even on a weeknight far from the water. In less than 15 minutes, a handful of inexpensive ingredients became a meal that felt special, making families forget how quickly it came together. Every crunchy bite delivered the carefree feeling of a coastal vacation without leaving the house, a reminder that a freezer staple can still capture the spirit of a faraway kitchen when imagination and hunger meet. Hot slaw. Sandwich turned leftover cabbage into a warm and hearty meal that fit perfectly with the frugal habits of the Great Depression. Families would shred cabbage, onions, and carrots, then cook them down with vinegar, sugar, and a hint of mustard until the mixture became tender and tangy. This hot slaw was piled generously onto buttered buns or thick slices of bread, making a filling dinner when meat was out of reach. The heat of the slaw softened the bread slightly, creating a comforting texture that felt indulgent. Despite its simple ingredients, diners and boarding houses across the Midwest served it as a reliable daily special, while home cooks appreciated how it stretched a small garden harvest into a satisfying supper. Its aroma of sweet and sour cabbage would fill the kitchen and invite everyone to the table long after those lean years ended. The memory of that steaming sandwich lingered as proof that thrift and taste can live side by side. Vinegar Pie Sipper brought the spirit of frugality to the picnic in a surprisingly refreshing drink. This old-fashioned recipe started with a tangy syrup made by simmering cider vinegar with lemon peel and sugar until it thickened into a golden concentrate. Once cooled, the syrup was mixed with cold well water or chipped ice to create a drink that tasted like the sweet tart filling of a lemon pie. Some church cooks added a dash of nutmeg or cinnamon to give it a warm depth, while others left it pure and bright. It was served in simple mason jars or paper cups and offered an alternative to the usual sweet tea. The drink shocked newcomers with its first sip, tart enough to wake the senses yet soothing on a humid afternoon. It reminded everyone that ingenuity could turn pantry staples into something memorable and thirst-quenching. Children often puckered and laughed at the sharpness, while elders smiled, recalling how such recipes stretched budgets and lifted spirits during harder times when nothing could be wasted and every gathering celebrated resourcefulness. Cornmeal. Crusted catfish fillets brought the taste of a southern fish fry to the table in minutes, turning thin fillets into golden perfection. A simple dredge of cornmeal seasoned with salt, pepper, and a hint of cayenne coated the fish, while oil heated in a cast-iron skillet. As soon as the fillets touched the pan, they sizzled and released a savory aroma that promised a feast. In only a few minutes, each side crisped to a deep golden brown, while the flesh stayed tender and flaky. Remember those working man's dinners you could make in just 10 minutes after a long day on the line? These dinners filled mid-century kitchens with quick heat, heavy plates, and the smell of hard work turning into comfort. What did those rushed but satisfying nights give us that slower meals never could? Raspberry vinegar. Spritzer refreshed thirsty guests with a balance of sweet fruit and tangy bite that felt both old-fashioned and new. Church ladies steeped fresh raspberries in cider vinegar and sugar for several days, creating a ruby-red shrub syrup that sparkled like stained glass in the sunlight. When picnic day arrived, they strained the mixture and poured it over tall glasses of crushed ice, then topped each serving with cool well water or fizzy mineral water. The first sip was brisk and lively, tart enough to wake the senses yet mellowed by the natural sweetness of the berries. Children loved the jewel color, while adults appreciated how the drink cut through the richness of fried chicken and buttery casseroles spread across the tables. Because it required only a few ingredients and could be made well ahead, it became a trusted recipe for gatherings where people lingered for hours in the summer heat. It carried the gentle memory of colonial shrubs and old kitchen wisdom, a link between generations that reminded everyone how simple ingredients could create something remarkable and worth passing on with pride. Patty Melt on Rye delivered diner flavor in a fraction of the time, making it a favorite among families who craved something special after a long shift. Ground beef was quickly shaped into thin patties and pressed flat on a hot griddle until sizzling and browned. Meanwhile, onions sliced paper-thin softened in butter until golden and sweet, their aroma drifting through the kitchen. Slices of rye bread were spread with more butter, then layered with the beef, the onions, and generous slices of melty Swiss or American cheese. A few minutes back on the skillet brought everything together, the bread crisping as the cheese oozed around the edges. The result was a sandwich that tasted like a full diner meal, yet came together faster than any takeout order. Served with pickles or a handful of chips, the Patty Melt satisfied both hunger and the need for something comforting, proving that a fast dinner could still feel like a small luxury at the end of a demanding day. Do you want some ants on a log? What do you mean your idea of a wonderful Sunday dinner isn't insects on wood? Just kidding, it's actually just celery sticks that have been filled with peanut butter, which honestly is just as bizarre of a combination to me, but I bet boomers feel that way about half the stuff we eat. If they were really feeling themselves, they'd add some raisins as a topping. Still, the best part of it was that this was another dish that focused mostly on assembly rather than any kind of long, drawn-out cooking. All you needed were pantry staples and barely 10 minutes of your time, and you had a healthy, tasty, and buttery snack ready to go. No electricity, gas, or flame needed. It was really common in suburban households for some reason, but those neighborhoods are always eating something I'll never get. Not sure how this would end up today, but I'd give it a shot for curiosity's sake alone. What about you? Ever had peanut butter-filled celery on your bingo card for the year? Now, just like the hoagie, another sandwich that really fit that void that the youth today, as the boomers would say, uses Subway to fill was a focaccia sandwich. This dish could be a bit harsher on the labor demands. You might be looking at a good half an oven and some oven work, but it would also depend on whether or not your bread was homemade or store-bought. Quick macaroni and stewed tomatoes was one of those meals that showed up when there was not much left in the pantry, but families still needed dinner on the table fast. You boiled some elbow macaroni, opened a can of stewed tomatoes, and stirred it all together with salt, pepper, and a little butter if you could spare it. That was it. It sounds humble, but back when budgets were tight and grocery trips were rare, this simple stovetop meal came through. The pasta filled you up, the tomatoes added flavor, and it all came together in under 10 minutes. You would find recipes like this scribbled in old cookbooks, passed down from one generation to the next, or clipped from women's magazines that promised fast, filling meals on a shoestring budget. It might seem plain now, but quick macaroni and stewed tomatoes helped plenty of families stretch their groceries and make dinner happen, even on the hardest days. Roasted Brussels sprouts with bacon were a caramelized, savory side that brought together crispy, tender Brussels sprouts and smoky bacon bits in a perfect marriage of flavors. This dish was a favorite in Betty Crocker cookbooks for its ability to transform a sometimes overlooked vegetable into a crowd-pleasing classic. The sprouts were roasted until their outer leaves turned crisp and golden, while the insides remained tender and sweet. Tossed with crumbled, crispy bacon, the combination delivered smoky richness that balanced the sprouts' natural earthiness and slight bitterness. This side was often served at family dinners and holiday feasts, praised for its simplicity and bold flavor. It perfectly captured the mid-century American love for hearty, flavorful vegetables paired with savory meats. Roasted Brussels sprouts with bacon remains a nostalgic staple that continues to delight those seeking comfort with a little crunch and smoky depth. Steak tips with garlic butter turned small pieces of beef into a dinner that tasted far more luxurious than the clock allowed. Bite-sized cubes of steak were seasoned with salt and pepper, then seared quickly in a smoking hot skillet until browned on the outside and just tender within. As the meat rested for a moment, Butter melted in the pan with minced garlic and a handful of fresh parsley, creating a sauce that smelled like a steakhouse. The sizzling butter was poured back over the meat, coating every piece in rich, garlicky flavor. Served over toast, rice, or even plain with a side of vegetables, the dish offered restaurant-style indulgence in the time it took to set the table. Families loved how a modest amount of beef could feel like a feast, and the sound of butter hitting the hot pan became a signal that the day's work was over and something delicious was ready. Cornflake peanut clusters delivered a satisfying crunch that ended many picnics on a sweet note. Cornflakes were poured into a wide bowl, while peanut butter, sugar, and a splash of milk were heated together on the stovetop until smooth and bubbling. The hot mixture was poured over the cereal and stirred quickly to coat every flake before being dropped by spoonfuls onto wax paper. As the clusters cooled, they hardened into golden mounds that held their shape even in the warm afternoon sun. Each bite combined the nutty richness of peanut butter with the crisp texture of cornflakes, making them an instant favorite for children and adults alike. Because they required no baking and very little time, they became a go-to recipe for busy church members preparing food for large gatherings. The clusters could be made hours ahead and stayed fresh in simple tins, waiting to be shared after long conversations, hymns, and laughter beneath the shade of spreading oak trees. Potato salad sandwich turned yesterday's picnic favorite into today's lunch by spooning creamy leftover potato salad between soft buttered rolls for a quick hearty bite. The chilled salad provided rich flavor and a pleasant texture, while the bread added warmth and softness, making each mouthful both cool and comforting. Families of the 1940s appreciated how it stretched ingredients and prevented waste, especially when meat was scarce and every meal had to be practical. It became a standard feature at potlucks and neighborhood picnics, where hosts sought easy recipes that served a crowd without fuss. Some added a sprinkle of paprika or chopped pickles for extra brightness, but the essence of the sandwich was always thrift and flavor. Even as tastes shifted toward hot deli fare, the potato salad sandwich stands as proof that leftovers can become an entirely new meal with nothing more than fresh bread and a little creativity. Shrimp and grits. Quick Bowl delivered coastal comfort with pantry convenience, turning pre-cooked shrimp and instant grits into a 10-minute feast. Water boiled while butter melted in a skillet, where garlic and a pinch of paprika released a smoky aroma. The shrimp, already cooked and cleaned, were tossed in the sizzling butter until warmed through and lightly seasoned with lemon juice. Instant grits whisked in another pot thickened in minutes, creamy and soft with a touch of salt. The hot grits were spooned into bowls and topped with the buttery shrimp and their flavorful drippings. A sprinkle of chopped green onions or parsley added a fresh finish. Despite the short cooking time, the dish tasted like a slow weekend brunch by the shore. Families loved how it brought a touch of luxury to a busy weeknight, proving that quick meals could still feel special and deeply satisfying when simple ingredients were treated with care and attention. Keeping in theme with the last dish, it really doesn't get any more German than a Sauerbraten. This pot roast really takes some work out of you, but every second is worth that delicious flavor in the end. The meat is usually lamb or pork, but if you really want to keep it traditional, you should go for horse, although I imagine that'll be a pretty strong shift for a lot of you. Next, we have a marination process involving vinegar, wine, water, and some spices, and the catch here is you need to actually marinate it for around 2 to 5 days. This extended process is something loyalists to traditional German recipes will swear up and down is necessary, because it softens the meat to unbelievable levels. The cooking itself takes around 3 to 4 hours, and most of that is just slow cooking and slow roasting in a pot and oven. This is entirely something that came as a result of immigrants in the 19th century and became really popular in Pennsylvania, Wisconsin, and Detroit because they had strong immigrant communities. Since it took so long, it was reserved mostly for celebrations and big days in German neighborhoods. It was a heritage dish, so it was gatekept by them for a long time, even to boomers. Later generations started to be more interested in sharing their recipes, but it was pretty much something you'd only experience in German communities back in the day. Even today, it's not something that would require a microwave at all. You'd be better off with a slow cooker so you can sit back and binge New Girl or Modern Family while it cooks if you're into mainstream nostalgic sitcoms. Canned chili over saltines was the kind of quick meal that got dinner on the table fast with hardly any effort, especially when the cupboards were running bare. You opened a can of chili, heated it on the stove, and spooned it over a pile of saltine crackers. That was all there was to it. It might sound plain now, but back when budgets were tight and groceries were stretched thin, this quick, salty, filling meal showed up on plenty of kitchen tables. The saltines soaked up the chili, adding crunch and making a small amount of food go a whole lot farther. Some folks dressed it up with shredded cheese or onions if they had them, but most kept it simple and practical. You would find this recipe clipped from old magazines, scribbled in community cookbooks, or passed along by word of mouth from one busy family to the next. It was never about being fancy. It was about keeping everyone full with what little you had. Today, it is one of those forgotten meals. But for plenty of homes back then, canned chili over saltines made dinner happen fast. Green bean almondine was a classic vegetable side that combined fresh green beans sautéed with butter, garlic, and toasted almonds for a nutty, buttery flavor. This elegant dish often appeared in Betty Crocker cookbooks as an easy way to elevate simple green beans into a special occasion side. The green beans were cooked until tender but still crisp, then quickly tossed in a skillet with melted butter and minced garlic to infuse them with rich, savory notes. Toasted almonds added a delightful crunch and nutty aroma, making every bite a perfect balance of textures. Green bean almondine was popular at dinner parties and holiday tables, praised for its sophisticated yet approachable flavor. It showcased mid-century home cooking's love for combining fresh vegetables with buttery richness and a crunchy finish. This side remains a nostalgic favorite for its bright green color, satisfying bite, and warm, nutty undertones that complement a wide variety of main dishes. Green bean and egg salad was one of those quick, cold meals that filled plates fast and stretched what little food families had during tough times. You opened a can of green beans, sliced up some boiled eggs, tossed it all together with mayonnaise, and that was it. A little creamy, a little savory, and ready in under 10 minutes. It might not sound fancy today, but back then, this quick salad showed up at church potlucks, summer picnics, and weekday lunches when the pantry was running low. The eggs added protein, the beans filled you up, and the mayo brought it all together in a creamy, satisfying bite. Families leaned on recipes like this because they used simple ingredients that were always on hand and turned them into meals that kept everyone fed. You would find this one scribbled in old cookbooks, passed along by neighbors, or quietly tucked into Grandma's collection of quick meal fixes. It might be forgotten now, but for plenty of families back then, green bean and egg salad was a go-to plate that saved time, money, and groceries. Porcupine meatballs were made entirely from ground beef that was shaped into balls and then served with rice. Again, this needed just 3 things: your stove, your skillet, and your pot. You'd brown the beef on the first, then slightly cook the rice in a skillet and let the meatballs simmer in a tomato-based sauce for around 30 to 40 minutes in the pot. At the end, you had an economical, fun, and delicious meatball dish that didn't break the bank and was able to feed the entire family. In reference to microwaves, there are some recipes today that make use of microwaves to make meatballs, but this was as conventional as you could get. It was a simple and hearty dish that had the typical flavors Americans have become so fond of, and meatballs were already a widely accepted format when it came to daily meals in many households. It's not something you'd go out and sit at a restaurant for, but it's definitely something that would comfort you and make you all nostalgic for your mom's cooking. Cheddar and broccoli omelet made a hearty egg dinner with bright color and bold flavor in minutes. Eggs were whisked with a splash of milk and a pinch of black pepper, then poured into a hot skillet where butter foamed at the edges. Fresh or frozen broccoli florets steamed quickly in the microwave or in a small pan, keeping their green snap and gentle sweetness. As the eggs began to set, sharp cheddar cheese was scattered across the surface, releasing a nutty scent as it melted. The broccoli folded inside added texture and an earthy contrast to the creamy eggs. In less than 10 minutes, the omelet slid onto a plate, golden on the outside and gooey within. Served with toasted bread or a handful of greens, it offered both comfort and nourishment, proving that dinner can be simple, yet feel complete. This dish turned basic staples into a meal that pleased everyone at the table while leaving only one pan to wash, making it ideal for nights when time and patience were in short supply, but good food was still essential. Chicken salad with grape sandwich became a tea room favorite, where tender diced chicken mixed with creamy mayonnaise and halved grapes for a touch of natural sweetness and elegant contrast. The juicy grapes brightened the savory chicken, while chopped celery often added crunch, making the sandwich both refreshing and hearty. Women's magazines of the 1940s and 50s showcased it as the perfect luncheon choice for bridal showers and Sunday gatherings, using leftover roast chicken kept it economical. While grapes lent a touch of luxury, families loved how easily it could be made ahead and served, chilled on soft rolls or delicate finger sandwich slices. Even children enjoyed the gentle sweetness which balanced the richness of the mayonnaise, as fashions shifted toward simpler deli meats. This refined combination faded from everyday menus, but it remains a timeless reminder of mid-century hospitality and the way a few well-chosen ingredients could elevate a simple sandwich into a meal that felt special without being extravagant. Quick carrot marmalade captured the brightness of citrus and the earthy sweetness of carrots in a jam, ready before the choir finished rehearsal. Finely grated carrots simmered with fresh orange juice, a ribbon of lemon zest, and plain sugar in a heavy pot until the mixture thickened into a glossy spread. A whisper of ginger or clove added gentle spice, while the natural pectin in the carrots gave the marmalade a satisfying body without extra effort. Spread across hot biscuits or spooned over simple pound cake, it brought a lively splash of sunshine to every bite. The bright orange color shone like stained glass in jars, making it as pretty as it was flavorful and earning admiring glances from the dessert table. Because it used inexpensive ingredients and required less than an hour, it quickly became a favorite among busy picnic planners. Guests loved how it brightened the menu and added a tangy note that balanced fried foods, preserving the memory of summer gardens in one easy recipe. Chocolate potato candy fascinated guests who could not believe that mashed potatoes could hide inside such a decadent sweet. Leftover potatoes were mashed smooth and combined with cocoa powder, butter, and powdered sugar to form a pliable dough that was rolled into logs or pressed into small squares. The mixture set quickly and sliced clean, revealing a rich chocolate flavor with a subtle earthy depth. Some cooks added chopped nuts or coconut for extra texture, while others drizzled a thin glaze of melted chocolate to create a glossy finish. This candy required no baking and made use of ingredients already in most kitchens, proving that a touch of imagination could turn everyday staples into a treat fit for a celebration. Children were delighted by the story behind it, and adults enjoyed the surprising moistness that kept each bite tender even in the summer sun. It became a treasured recipe to share among friends, a reminder that thrift and creativity often lead to the most memorable flavors on a crowded picnic table. Shrimp paste sandwich offered a briny elegance perfect for afternoon gatherings where seafood was a special treat. Finely minced shrimp was blended with lemon butter until smooth and spread across thin slices of rye bread for a delicate yet savory bite. The lemon brightened the natural sweetness of the shrimp, while the butter gave a silky richness that pleased both adults and children. During the 1940s and 50s, coastal communities loved this sandwich for its ability to showcase local catches without extravagant cost, and inland families relied on canned shrimp to bring a taste of the ocean to their tables. It became a popular starter at tea parties and church socials where guests admired its light texture and subtle flavor. Easy to prepare and quick to serve, it proved that even a small amount of seafood could create something memorable and refined, making the shrimp paste sandwich a forgotten gem worth revisiting today. Chicken fried rice with canned chicken delivered a satisfying stir-fry that used pantry staples to create takeout flavor in record time. Day-old rice separated beautifully in a hot skillet coated with a thin film of oil, each grain absorbing the smoky heat. Diced onions, carrots, and peas added color and sweetness, sizzling as they released their fragrance. A can of cooked chicken provided tender meat with no extra prep, breaking apart into savory shreds that mingled with the vegetables. A quick splash of soy sauce and a sprinkle of garlic powder tied everything together, while scrambled eggs folded in at the end brought richness and body. The result was a meal that tasted carefully crafted yet came together in less than 15 minutes, perfect for evenings when energy ran low but appetites ran high. Families loved how it stretched a small amount of protein across several generous portions while clearing the fridge of leftover rice. Each spoonful offered the comfort of home and the excitement of a restaurant favorite, a reminder that great flavor does not require a long list of fresh ingredients when skill and heat meet simple planning. Egg rolls are crispy rolls filled with vegetables, meat, or seafood, often served with dipping sauces. This popular Chinese-inspired appetizer offers a satisfying crunch and a burst of flavors. The origin of egg rolls is somewhat unclear, but they likely originated in the United States as a variation of traditional Chinese spring rolls. Egg rolls are traditionally made with a wheat flour wrapper, filled with a mixture of shredded cabbage, carrots, pork, and shrimp. The rolls are deep-fried until crispy and golden brown. What sets egg rolls apart is their thick, crispy wrapper, which contrasts nicely with the savory filling. They're often served with sweet and sour sauce or soy sauce and are a staple of American Chinese cuisine. They're popular as a starter or snack, frequently included in Chinese takeout orders, and synonymous with gatherings and family meals. Speaking of economics, the following mom-made specialty was homemade pasta sauce. Recently, I was quite shocked to see the huge amounts of jar-filled pasta sauces as my mom taught me the old-fashioned way to make it with the use of only a few ingredients. For example, the top components to make an awesome-tasting sauce consist mainly of the following: a couple of smushed-up red tomatoes, finely chopped onion, herbs, and spices. Now, bear in mind that I had 2 older brothers, so this sauce was a necessity, as their appetites seemed insatiable. Similarly, pasta sauce is closely associated with Italian cuisine. Although tomatoes were introduced to Italy in the 16th century, it wasn't until the 17th century that tomato-based sauces gained popularity, securing their place in culinary history. With its first mention in a cookbook compiled by a chef, L'Appicio Moderno, in 1790. Egg in a whole toast was one of those fast, comforting breakfasts that managed to make plain old bread and eggs feel like something special in under 10 minutes. You would grab a slice of sandwich bread, cut a circle right out of the center, toss it into a hot skillet with a little butter, and crack an egg into the hole. That was all it took. The bread toasted up golden, the egg cooked right inside, and suddenly breakfast was on the table without much work or money spent. Families leaned on meals like this when mornings were hectic, paychecks were stretched thin, and everyone still needed a hot meal before heading out the door. It was a staple for school days, early church mornings, or whenever groceries were low but hunger was high. Some folks added cheese or herbs if they had them, but most kept it simple and practical. You would find egg in a hole scribbled on recipe cards tucked into faded cookbooks or passed down by word of mouth through generations. It might feel forgotten today, but back then, this quick breakfast trick kept countless families full, happy, and ready to face the day with just bread, eggs, and a hot skillet. Homemade sauerkraut was a tangy, crunchy staple deeply rooted in German-American cooking traditions during the mid-20th century. This fermented cabbage was prized for its sharp flavor and probiotic benefits, offering a unique taste that complemented hearty meats and robust meals. Betty Crocker cookbooks provided simple methods for making sauerkraut at home, emphasizing patience and proper fermentation to achieve the perfect balance of sourness and texture. The process involved shredding cabbage, salting it, and letting it ferment slowly, transforming a basic vegetable into a lively and flavorful side. Sauerkraut was a common accompaniment at family dinners, Oktoberfest celebrations, and holiday feasts, especially in regions with strong German heritage. Its crisp bite and tangy punch added brightness to heavy dishes like sausages and pork roasts. This side dish embodied a connection to heritage and home-style cooking, carrying traditions across generations while offering a distinctive tang that remains beloved by many today. beef and onion sandwich spread proved that deli leftovers could turn into a hearty supper in almost no time. Thin slices of roast beef, whether from a weekend dinner or the grocery counter, were chopped fine and folded into a bowl of mayonnaise and diced onions. A splash of Worcestershire sauce and a pinch of black pepper added depth, while the onions provided crunch and a sharp bite. The mixture chilled for just a few minutes while bread toasted and plates were set. Then it was piled thick between slices of rye or soft white sandwich bread. Some families liked a layer of crisp lettuce for freshness, while others spooned the spread onto crackers for an easy snack that still felt like a meal. It stretched a small amount of beef into several servings, saving both time and money while still tasting indulgent. Each bite combined creamy texture with savory meat and a gentle onion heat, the kind of simple pleasure that keeps everyone coming back for seconds. Quick to make, rich to eat, this spread turned odds and ends into a dinner worth remembering, proving that thrift and flavor can happily share the same table. Tomato and peanut soup brought a hearty yet thrifty option to the meal. Canned tomato soup was heated slowly with a spoonful of creamy peanut butter stirred in until it melted into a silky base. A pinch of cayenne or black pepper added gentle heat, while chopped onions or celery provided texture. The combination created a surprising depth of flavor, bright tomato balanced by the nutty richness of peanuts, that felt both comforting and exotic. This soup could be served hot on cool evenings or chilled for a refreshing lunch, making it flexible for year-round gatherings. It stretched ingredients beautifully, feeding many with just a few pantry staples, which made it a favorite among church cooks, mindful of budget and time. Served with crusty bread or simple crackers, it provided a protein boost that sustained singers and storytellers well into the evening. Guests often asked for the recipe, amazed at how two everyday ingredients could create something so unique and satisfying while reflecting the ingenuity of African American kitchens. Tomato aspic sandwich brought a dramatic look to the table with bright red gelled tomato slices set carefully on buttered toast triangles. For a combination that was cool, tangy, and visually striking, the savory aspic carried the essence of ripe tomatoes, mixed with a gentle seasoning of celery salt and lemon juice, creating a delicate flavor that surprised first-time tasters popular at mid-century luncheons and cocktail parties. It offered a sophisticated alternative to heavier meats and cheeses, and could be prepared a day ahead to free hosts from last-minute work. Guests admired the jewel-like appearance and refreshing bite, especially during warm weather gatherings. While tomato aspic has mostly disappeared from modern menus, it remains a testament to the creativity of cooks who turned basic vegetable juice and gelatin into a centerpiece sandwich, proving that presentation and taste can be achieved with modest ingredients and a touch of patience. Vegetable fried rice with leftover meat transformed scraps and day-old rice into a fragrant dinner in less than 15 minutes. Cold-cooked rice was the key, each grain separating as it hit the hot oil of a wide skillet or wok. Bits of carrot, peas, and diced onions followed, their colors brightening as they sizzled. Leftover meat, whether pork chops, chicken, or beef, was sliced thin and tossed in with a splash of soy sauce and a drizzle of sesame oil. A quick scramble of eggs in the corner of the pan finished the dish, binding everything together with soft ribbons. The result was smoky and savory, carrying the scent of garlic and ginger through the house. Families appreciated how it cleared the refrigerator of odds and ends while creating a meal that tasted planned and special. Served hot straight from the pan, it proved that yesterday's rice and scraps of meat could become a satisfying dinner that rivaled takeout, saving both time and money without sacrificing flavor or comfort. As good as these dishes are, they're all classics, and that wasn't the only part of American cooking. Hybrid meals and fusion food really took off around the middle of the 1900s too, with stuff like the cheeseburger pie being the trendy answer to revitalizing mainstream ideas like casseroles. It was made with a lot of the same things. You had your ground beef, cheese, eggs, and a pie crust, but it took a lot less time. You were honestly ready to go in, like, what, half an hour? I know it sounds almost like a travesty. A cheeseburger in the form of a pie? You know what they say, though. Don't judge a book by its cover or a recipe by its name. It was built to give off the taste of a cheeseburger, but it wasn't imitating the whole thing. That's why this actually did get popular in the South and Midwest, at least enough for companies like Bisquick to start making recipes for it and including them on their product. You needed an oven and a stove here. It may have benefited from a microwave because you could melt your cheese to your liking, but it was perfectly fine without one too. Fried potatoes and onion skillet was a fast, hearty stovetop meal that showed up in countless kitchens when times were tough and bellies needed filling without much fuss or money. You would slice up potatoes, chop some onions, heat a little oil or butter in the skillet, and fry everything until golden and crispy. That was it. It sounds simple now, but back when groceries were scarce and time was short, this was a meal that worked. The potatoes filled everyone up, the onions added flavor, and the skillet turned humble pantry staples into something hot, hearty, and satisfying. Some folks added eggs, bacon, or herbs if they had them, but most kept it practical and affordable. You would find this recipe scribbled on old note cards, tucked into grandma's cookbooks, or passed down by word of mouth through generations of families who knew how to stretch every last ingredient. Fried potatoes and onions might seem forgotten today, but back then, it was a reliable fix for hungry families trying to make groceries last, keep dinner on the table, and survive the lean weeks when every meal counted just a little more. Watermelon and feta salad was a refreshing and unexpected combination that paired juicy, sweet watermelon chunks with crumbly, salty feta cheese. This side dish gained popularity as a summer staple in mid-century America and appeared in some Betty Crocker cookbooks as a light, flavorful contrast to heavier meals. The sweet, watery texture of the watermelon provided a cooling effect, while the feta added richness and a salty punch that balanced the fruit's natural sweetness. Often garnished with fresh mint or a drizzle of lemon juice, this salad offered a vibrant mix of flavors and colors on the plate. It was a perfect picnic or barbecue side, celebrated for its simplicity and its ability to refresh the palate. The unexpected pairing showcased the inventive spirit of vintage cooking, blending sweet and savory in a way that still delights today. Watermelon and feta salad remains a nostalgic reminder of sunny days and casual gatherings around the table. Grape jelly meatball skillet might sound like a strange mix now, but back then, it was one of those quirky, sweet, and savory meals that showed up fast and stretched what little meat you had. You browned some mini meatballs in a skillet, poured in grape jelly and a splash of mustard, and let it all bubble together. In 10 minutes flat, dinner was ready. It was sweet, tangy, salty, and surprisingly filling. Families leaned on recipes like this because they turned a small amount of ground beef into a meal that felt bigger than it was. You could find this in old church cookbooks, clipped from women's magazines, or scribbled onto recipe cards tucked in drawers. It was not about fancy ingredients. It was about getting something warm, satisfying, and a little fun onto the table, fast. Today it feels forgotten, but back then, this sweet skillet meal kept homes running during the toughest weeks. While some dishes really need a lot of hand-holding and attention to detail, you'll never hear that from a dedicated fried chicken lover. Those people, myself included, live in the lap of luxury. You get what's arguably the most iconic comfort food of all time across the globe, and you don't even need some complicated recipe to do it. No glazes, no intricate fillings or baking processes. All you need is breadcrumbs, a good batter, and some juicy pieces of chicken, and you're good to go. It was rare to ever see something that could outdo a good plate of fried chicken. Not only was the entire country obsessed with the concept and the actual food, it was one of the most popular takeout items too. You couldn't really escape fried chicken no matter where you were, but that would go doubly for places like New York and the South. Plus, it wouldn't help that a lot of fast food chains started to specialize in that. Of course, this was also something that could entirely be done on the stovetop. At no point was there any need to touch a microwave. I know some recent modern dishes have come out that do use the microwave for fried chicken, but the oldest and most reliable recipes have always done it without relying on anything but a stove and their own skill. Minute steak with onion gravy delivered the taste of a slow Sunday supper in a fraction of the time. Ultra-thin beef steaks hit a hot skillet and browned within moments, releasing a rich aroma as they seared. After the meat was set aside, sliced onions cooked in the drippings until they softened and turned sweet. Then a splash of beef broth and a dusting of flour transformed the pan juices into a smooth, savory gravy. The steaks returned to the pan for a brief simmer, soaking up the onion-infused sauce. Served with buttered toast or a mound of mashed potatoes, the dish tasted like comfort that had taken all afternoon, even though it was ready in less than 20 minutes. Families appreciated its hearty flavor and quick cleanup, while the fragrant gravy made the kitchen smell welcoming and warm. Each forkful combined tender beef and silky onions, a reminder that a satisfying meal does not require hours of preparation when technique and simple ingredients come together perfectly. Spinach and egg sandwich combined earthy greens with satisfying protein by mixing chopped cooked spinach and diced hard-boiled eggs in a mustard dressing that tied everything together. This nourishing blend offered a mellow bite with a subtle tang, perfect for quick lunches or light suppers. Families embraced it during the rationing years when eggs and garden spinach were affordable staples that delivered essential nutrients without great cost. The sandwich traveled well wrapped in wax paper and remained tasty at room temperature, making it ideal for workers and school children alike. A touch of black pepper or grated onion could be added for extra zest, but many preferred the pure, straightforward flavors that defined home cooking of the 1940s, though modern cafes rarely feature it. The spinach and egg sandwich reflects an era when simple, wholesome ingredients came together to create meals that were as practical as they were flavorful, offering a lesson in timeless kitchen economy. Coffee jelly. Sunday delivered a grown-up treat for those who wanted a gentle jolt of flavor between hymns and stories. Strong black coffee was brewed early in the morning, then sweetened just enough before gelatin was dissolved into the hot liquid and poured into glass dishes to set. By the time the picnic crowd gathered, the coffee had transformed into a smooth, shimmering jelly that held its shape when scooped. Cubes of the chilled jelly were spooned into tall cups and topped with a splash of cold evaporated milk, which added creamy richness without overwhelming the deep roasted flavor. Some cooks dusted the top with a hint of cocoa powder while others left it pure and simple, allowing the bittersweet coffee to shine. Adults savored each spoonful, slowly enjoying the cool texture on a hot day, while children sometimes traded tastes for slices of cake or pie. The dessert was elegant in its restraint and surprisingly refreshing when eaten under the shade of churchyard trees while gospel music floated through the warm afternoon air. Turkey Club sandwich plate turned a deli standard into a full dinner that felt hearty and fresh. Triple layers of toasted bread held slices of roasted turkey, crisp bacon, ripe tomatoes, and crunchy lettuce, each tier spread with a thin layer of mayonnaise for tang. The stack was secured with toothpicks and sliced into neat quarters, revealing colorful layers that looked as good as they tasted. A side of potato chips or a handful of pickles completed the plate, adding crunch and variety. Because it required no cooking beyond a quick toast and bacon fry, the meal came together in minutes, making it ideal for hot evenings or late nights when a stove felt out of the question. Each bite offered a balance of smoky, salty, and fresh flavors that satisfied even the hungriest diner. Families loved how it felt both casual and substantial. A dinner that borrowed the best of a classic lunch while proving that a sandwich can indeed stand proudly as the evening's main event. Orange gelatin soufflé. Cups brought a cheerful glow to every picnic spread. Instant pudding was whipped together with gelatin and a splash of fresh orange juice until it became light and airy. The mixture was poured into individual cups and chilled until softly set, forming a dessert that looked like a true soufflé, but required no oven at all. When served, the cups revealed a pale orange hue and a delicate citrus scent that lifted spirits on even the warmest days. Topped with a dollop of lightly sweetened whipped cream, they offered a smooth, creamy bite that melted instantly on the tongue. Churchgoers admired how quickly these treats could be prepared while still looking fancy enough for a special gathering. Children loved the bright color and gentle wobble that made each spoonful fun, while adults found the flavor refreshingly light after a plateful of savory dishes. This dessert proved that with a few pantry staples and a bit of creativity, even the simplest recipe could bring joy to a crowd gathered in faith and friendship. Green pepper and cheese sandwich brought a satisfying crunch to the simple lunch plates of mid-century. America raw green pepper rings were layered onto slices of buttered bread and topped with a generous spread of sharp cheese. The contrast of crisp vegetables and creamy dairy created a refreshing combination that was both affordable and filling families appreciated. How garden peppers stayed fresh for days, without refrigeration, making them a dependable choice for school lunches and quick suppers. This sandwich appeared in community cookbooks of the 1940s, where homemakers shared recipes that stretched ingredients during rationing efforts. Farmers enjoyed it during the harvest season when peppers were abundant and inexpensive, while children found the bright color and mild spice exciting. Compared to plainer fare, its straightforward preparation required no cooking, which made it perfect for hot summer evenings, when turning on the stove was unthinkable. Even though it has faded from modern menus, the green pepper and cheese sandwich remains a crisp reminder of resourceful American home cooking. Egg and potato. Hash turned scraps into a filling supper that could be on the table before the day's stories were finished. Leftover boiled potatoes were diced and tossed into a hot skillet with a bit of butter until their edges crisped to a golden brown. Eggs were cracked directly over the sizzling potatoes, their yolks breaking to coat each bite in a rich sauce as they cooked. A sprinkle of salt, pepper, and maybe a dash of paprika was all it needed. The aroma of frying potatoes and eggs promised satisfaction and thrift, a meal built from yesterday's extras and today's needs. Served straight from the pan, the hash invited everyone to eat family style, forks clinking as the steam rose. It proved that speed never had to sacrifice comfort and that the best dinners often came from making the most of what was already on hand. Real quick, if you're loving this content as much as we loved making it, hit subscribe to stay connected and help us reach even more amazing folks like you. Not only were normal things a lot more expensive than they used to be, but pricey meats like salmon were a lot cheaper than you'd think. That led to boomers getting to enjoy smoked salmon egg salad and other various fish-based delicacies for lunch every other day. Actually, if you're a New Yorker, scratch that and make it every day. See, the fishing industry was a big chunk of the American economy back then, and salmon happened to be some of the most common catches of the day around the country. Egg salad was already a common dish for much of the same reasons. It was cheap, simple, and easy to make. Salmon being that easy to get made the way clear for an untapped market known as preserved products, and smoked salmon was the first of them. It didn't take any heat, and the eggs just needed to be boiled. The entire recipe needed 20 good minutes, your best mayonnaise, and some good sense with seasoning, and you had a full meal ready. Cold spaghetti with Italian dressing was one of those forgotten leftover tricks that stretched a single meal into something new without much time or money spent. You would take last night's spaghetti, rinse it off if needed, toss it in a splash of bottled Italian dressing, and that was dinner or lunch, ready in under 10 minutes. It sounds plain, but back then, this was an easy, thrifty way to keep food from going to waste and keep everyone fed. Families leaned on recipes like this when grocery lists ran short and leftovers became the next meal. The dressing added tang, the pasta filled you up, and it all came together cold, quick, and satisfying. You would find cold spaghetti with Italian dressing scribbled in community cookbooks, passed along at potlucks, or quietly traded between neighbors looking for affordable meal ideas. Some folks tossed in vegetables or cheese if they had any left, but most kept it simple and practical. It might feel forgotten now, but back then this cold pasta salad was a staple for families trying to stretch their meals, save their money, and still have something satisfying on the table without turning on the stove. Marinated beets were a vibrant and tangy side dish that brought a burst of color and flavor to mid-century tables. These tender beets were soaked in a vinegar-based marinade seasoned with spices such as cloves, peppercorns, and bay leaves. The soaking process infused the beets with a bright acidity that perfectly balanced their natural earthiness. Betty Crocker cookbooks highlighted marinated beets as a simple yet elegant accompaniment, ideal for cutting through richer dishes and adding a refreshing contrast. The dish was popular for its ability to be prepared ahead of time and its pleasing mix of sweet, sour, and savory notes. Often served chilled, marinated beets were a festive favorite during holiday meals and summer dinners alike. Their bold red hue made them a striking addition to any plate, while their complex flavor made them beloved by both home cooks and guests. This recipe showcased the vintage kitchen's knack for turning humble vegetables into memorable sides that stood out in both taste and appearance. In a similar way, but also on the opposite end of the spectrum, we have no noodle pad thai, and I can already hear the disgruntled sighs from the traditionalists among you guys, but hear me out. It's not as blasphemous as you'd think. I know traditionally, you get pad thai with enough noodles to satisfy all your cravings, but this time, it relies entirely on fresh produce. See, the reason for that was that the landscape of America's eating habits was entirely different from what we're used to. Fast food hadn't taken off yet, McDonald's didn't have every minor in a chokehold, and Wendy's wasn't the go-to takeout for couples spending a lazy Saturday together. People were still eating zucchini and carrots and being health conscious. Of course, that didn't mean they'd be healthy in a non-American way. Efficiency was still the name of the game, and that's why this no-noodle pad thai recipe took off as well as it did. You can have a bowl of lovely pad thai with all the flavors you're used to expecting in under 10-20 minutes on a gas flame or a stovetop. If you had some leftovers from the night before, you could just warm it up over a stovetop. It was a pretty refreshing way to go about your lunch. Cornmeal. Crusted catfish fillets brought the taste of a southern fish fry to the table in minutes, turning thin fillets into golden perfection. A simple dredge of cornmeal seasoned with salt, pepper, and a hint of cayenne coated the fish, while oil heated in a cast-iron skillet. As soon as the fillets touched the pan, they sizzled and released a savory aroma that promised a feast. In only a few minutes, each side crisped to a deep golden brown, while the flesh stayed tender and flaky. Remember those working man's dinners you could make in just 10 minutes after a long day on the line? These dinners filled mid-century kitchens with quick heat, heavy plates, and the smell of hard work turning into comfort. What did those rushed but satisfying nights give us that slower meals never could? Corned beef and coleslaw sandwich was a satisfying precursor to the modern Reuben, combining sliced corned beef with a mound of creamy, tangy coleslaw between sturdy rye bread for a lunch that was both hearty and refreshing. Jewish delis in New York and other cities popularized it during the 1920s-40s when customers wanted generous portions without a high price. The savory saltiness of the beef paired perfectly with the crisp cabbage and light dressing of the slaw, creating a balance that pleased both workers on quick lunch breaks and families seeking an easy dinner. It was less heavy than today's melted cheese versions, but every bit as flavorful, easy to prepare in advance. It held up well for picnics or train journeys, making it a practical choice for travelers over time. The Reuben with Swiss cheese and dressing overshadowed this simpler cousin, but the corned beef and coleslaw sandwich still represents an era of straightforward deli fare that deserves to be remembered and enjoyed again. Water chestnut bacon wraps brought a surprising crunch to the picnic table. Whole canned water chestnuts were drained and patted dry, then wrapped in strips of smoky bacon secured with wooden toothpicks. Each bundle was brushed with a light glaze of brown sugar and soy sauce before being broiled until the bacon turned crisp and caramelized. The result was a savory sweet bite with a satisfying snap at the center. These little morsels were perfect finger food, disappearing quickly from platters as children and adults alike reached for seconds. They traveled well and could be served warm or at room temperature, making them ideal for outdoor gatherings where timing was unpredictable. Their mix of textures and flavors delighted guests who might not have expected such a modern-tasting treat at a church picnic. The recipe showed how 1960s cooks blended pantry staples with global influences, turning simple ingredients into something exciting and memorable that encouraged conversation and friendly competition for the last piece. Italian sausage hoagies brought the flavor of a street fair to the dinner table with little more than a skillet and a few minutes. Pre-cooked Italian sausage links browned quickly until their casings crackled and juices sizzled across the pan. Sliced onions and bell peppers joined the heat, softening and caramelizing as they soaked up the seasoned drippings. Hoagie rolls warmed in the oven until lightly crisp on the outside and tender within. When the vegetables turned golden, the sausages nestled into the rolls, draped with the sweet pepper and onion mixture, and a light scatter of shredded provolone if desired. Each bite balanced smoky spice, soft bread, and the gentle sweetness of slow-cooked vegetables. The meal felt festive, yet required almost no effort, making it a favorite for families who wanted bold taste without a long cooking session. Served with a simple green salad or a handful of chips, these hoagies brought the spirit of an Italian street vendor into a busy kitchen, showing that fast food can still be deeply satisfying and full of character when prepared with care and served piping hot. Quick brown butter popcorn transformed an everyday snack into something worthy of a special church outing. Fresh popcorn was popped in a heavy stovetop pan until every kernel burst into a fluffy cloud. Meanwhile, butter was melted slowly until it turned a deep, nutty brown, releasing an aroma that drew children and adults alike to the kitchen door. The hot popcorn was tossed in the fragrant butter and dusted with a generous spoon of sugar, which caramelized slightly on the warm kernels, coating them in a delicate sweet crust. Some cooks added a pinch of salt to sharpen the flavor, while others relied solely on the natural sweetness of the browned butter. Served in paper cones or simple bowls, it filled the air with a rich, toasty scent that mingled with the smoke of outdoor grills and the sound of gospel singing. This treat required only a few ingredients and a few minutes, yet it felt indulgent and festive, reminding everyone that a little care in the kitchen could elevate even the most ordinary pantry staples into something worth sharing under the open sky of a summer picnic afternoon. Walnut and cream cheese sandwich turned the hearty flavor of toasted nuts into a satisfying spread by folding them into whipped cream cheese until the texture became both rich and slightly crunchy. A drizzle of honey was sometimes added for a hint of sweetness, but the main appeal was the deep, nutty taste paired with smooth, tangy cheese. This sandwich gained popularity in the 1930s and 40s, when walnuts were inexpensive and widely available through local farms and victory gardens. It became a staple of afternoon teas and church socials where hosts sought recipes that were both frugal and impressive. The combination provided protein and healthy fats, which made it as nourishing as it was tasty. Served on brown bread or whole wheat, it offered a rustic contrast to the refined tea sandwiches of the era. Though modern menus rarely feature it, the walnut and cream cheese sandwich remains a charming example of simple ingredients delivering a memorable and wholesome lunch. Salisbury steak patties with gravy mix offered a hearty plate in minutes, transforming ground beef into something that tasted like a slow Sunday supper. Lean beef was seasoned with onion powder, garlic, and a splash of Worcestershire, then shaped into oval patties and seared in a skillet until crisp on the outside and juicy inside. While the meat browned, a packet of instant brown gravy whisked together with water created a smooth sauce in a separate pan. Once the patties were done, they were nestled into the bubbling gravy for a final simmer that coated them in rich flavor. Served over mashed potatoes or buttered toast, the meal felt far more elaborate than the clock revealed. Working parents loved the speed and the hearty comfort, while children scooped up every drop of gravy with the last crust of bread. It was a dinner that turned a simple pound of beef into something warm, filling, and memorable, the kind of dish that proves convenience and care can live on the same plate. If we go back to the Brown Hotel in Louisville, Kentucky, we can find a decent piece of history. That would be the original hot brown sandwich, which in turn gave birth to mini hot browns. As far as iconic vintage recipes go, this one's a Kentucky classic. Couldn't turn a single block in that entire state without some kind of hot brown place. It's associated with regional events like Derby Day and is one of the most common snacks to serve your guests. It's an appetizer, but it does its job better than anything else, really. Again, this dish required either of the three: a boiler, an oven, or a stovetop, but never a microwave. A stovetop might be unnecessary. You could just toast the sandwiches some other way, but a broiler was key for that brown topping, which gave the dish its personality. Couldn't cut corners for that one. Even if, let's say, you did have a microwave, it couldn't replace a broiler. It wouldn't taste the same. A lot of the dishes on this list, especially this one, really were built to function and get their taste without the need of a microwave. It was only after it was invented and made for widespread commercial use that things like microwave-based dishes started becoming common. Everything else before that was built to last and be made with just whatever source of fire was available. Vegetable fried rice with leftover meat transformed scraps and day-old rice into a fragrant dinner in less than 15 minutes. Cold-cooked rice was the key, each grain separating as it hit the hot oil of a wide skillet or wok. Bits of carrot, peas, and diced onions followed, their colors brightening as they sizzled. Leftover meat, whether pork chops, chicken, or beef, was sliced thin and tossed in with a splash of soy sauce and a drizzle of sesame oil. A quick scramble of eggs in the corner of the pan finished the dish, binding everything together with soft ribbons. The result was smoky and savory, carrying the scent of garlic and ginger through the house. Families appreciated how it cleared the refrigerator of odds and ends while creating a meal that tasted planned and special. Served hot straight from the pan, it proved that yesterday's rice and scraps of meat could become a satisfying dinner that rivaled takeout, saving both time and money without sacrificing flavor or comfort. Long after the jars were empty, people remembered that simple blend of tangy dairy and golden cereal as proof that even breakfast could be turned into a festive drink for friends and family. Cottage cheese snowballs brought a cool touch of sweetness to tables already heavy with pies and cobblers. Soft cottage cheese was whipped with powdered sugar and a dash of vanilla until smooth, then rolled into bite-sized spheres that were chilled until firm. Each ball was rolled in a blanket of fine coconut flakes, transforming them into snowy little treats that glistened under the picnic shelter lights. Some cooks tucked a hidden cherry or pecan half inside for a surprise bite, while others left them pure and creamy. They required no baking, no stove, and barely any cleanup, making them ideal for busy church ladies preparing for a crowd. Children loved the way the coconut stuck to their fingers, and adults appreciated the not-too-sweet flavor that paired well with coffee or iced tea. Packed in wax paper-lined tins, the snowballs stayed cool for hours, even on hot afternoons, offering a refreshing finish after plates of fried chicken and potato salad. Each bite felt like a small celebration of simplicity, proof that a few humble ingredients could create a memorable dessert with both charm and comfort. Banana and mayo sandwich stood as a Southern classic where ripe bananas met smooth mayonnaise on soft white bread, creating a sweet and tangy combination that puzzled outsiders but delighted generations of families across rural towns. The creamy mayo blended with the natural sugar of the bananas, forming a rich spread that needed no extra seasoning. People enjoyed it chilled for a cooling summer lunch or packed it into lunch boxes for long days in the fields because the ingredients were cheap filling and easy to find during the 1930s and 40s when other fruits were scarce. This sandwich offered a satisfying taste of sweetness with a touch of protein from the mayonnaise. Some cooks added a sprinkle of salt or a dash of lemon juice, but tradition kept it simple. Church picnics and roadside diners both served it proudly, proving that comfort food often lives in the most unexpected pairings and its nostalgic charm still tempts adventurous eaters today. Cheeseburger. Mac Skillet turned a single pan into a complete dinner that filled plates and quieted hungry stomachs. Elbow macaroni boiled in salted water while ground beef browned in a deep skillet with chopped onions and a dusting of garlic powder. The drained pasta was folded into the sizzling meat along with a handful of shredded cheddar and a splash of milk, creating a creamy sauce as everything mingled over low heat. The smell of melting cheese and seared beef brought everyone to the kitchen before the cook could even call them. In less than 20 minutes, the dish was ready, bubbling and rich, served straight from the pan to eager bowls. Families loved how it combined the familiar taste of a cheeseburger with the comfort of macaroni and cheese, turning two favorites into one speedy supper. Leftovers reheated beautifully, though they rarely lasted long. Affordable, filling, and fun to eat, this skillet meal proved that a fast dinner could still taste like a weekend indulgence, feeding both nostalgia and appetite in every creamy, beefy bite. A Labskaus, and I'm going to give you a minute to pronounce that one because I needed to, comes right out of the heart of our most dominant German-American communities that bring the heart and soul of the tastes of places like Hamburg and Bremen right over to you in California and Milwaukee. That's where a lot of German communities first started settling, so the dish served as a foothold for them to spread out of. It was basically just corned beef, which Americans were already way too familiar with thanks to government rationing favoring it over everything else in the World War era. The rest was mashed potatoes, onions, and sometimes pickled herring. Luckily, you didn't need anything more than 20 minutes if you were working with pre-made corned beef, but if you were one of those folks that trusted only homemade cooking, you'd need a good 2 or 3 hours to make everything from scratch. This dish was ironically most popular in port cities, maybe because instead of ground beef, you could also use salted meat, and they were really used to salted meats in those cities thanks to preservation techniques used for fish. The best part was that this didn't even really need a stove, as you could just make do with an open fire too, making it the perfect dish for working-class neighborhoods and families. I know it sounds fancy, but it really has always been associated with your everyday homes and their daily lunches. Mayo and lettuce sandwiches were one of those simple, no-nonsense Depression-era meals that somehow filled you up when there was not much else to work with. You slapped some mayonnaise on soft sandwich bread, added a few crisp iceberg lettuce leaves, and called it lunch. That was it. It might sound plain today, but back when grocery shelves were bare and paychecks were stretched thin, this quick little meal showed up on a lot of kitchen tables. Families made do with what they had, and mayonnaise gave the sandwich some fat and flavor while lettuce added crunch and made it feel fresh. It was cheap, fast, and surprisingly satisfying when times were tough. You would see it scribbled onto old recipe cards or passed down through word of mouth as a quick lunch fix that cost next to nothing. These sandwiches are mostly forgotten now, but back then, they were a lifesaver that came together in under 10 minutes. Mashed rutabagas were a less common but beloved vintage side dish that brought a buttery, creamy twist to a hearty root vegetable. This mashed treat was a staple in many Betty Crocker cookbooks, especially during times when variety was sought beyond the usual potatoes. Rutabagas, with their slightly sweet and earthy flavor, were boiled and mashed with butter and cream to create a smooth, comforting side that paired beautifully with roasted meats and stews. Their pale yellow color and mild taste made them a subtle yet satisfying addition to any plate. Unlike the more familiar mashed potatoes, rutabagas offered a slightly different texture and a hint of natural sweetness that made the dish feel special. It was a side that echoed simpler times and frugal kitchens, where every ingredient was stretched and savored. Mashed rutabagas stood as a testament to vintage American cooking's ability to find comfort in unexpected places. Skillet hot dogs with onions and peppers brought the flavor of a street cart into the kitchen without the need for a grill. Hot dogs were scored and browned in a cast-iron pan, while sliced onions and bell peppers sautéed beside them in a little butter and salt. The vegetables softened and caramelized, releasing a sweetness that mingled with the smoky scent of the searing meat. Split rolls were toasted directly in the same pan to catch every bit of flavor. In less than 10 minutes, the hot dogs were nestled into the warm bread and piled high with the pepper and onion mixture, a quick dinner that felt indulgent and hearty. Families loved the one-pan cleanup and the way the dish fed a group with minimal effort. Each bite carried the taste of summer fairs and city sidewalks, proving that even a humble hot dog can become a meal worth remembering when time is short and hunger is strong. Cucumber and mint cream cheese boats offered a cool escape from the summer heat. Large cucumbers were halved lengthwise and carefully scooped to form shallow boats ready to cradle a refreshing filling. Cream cheese was whipped until soft, then mixed with finely chopped fresh mint, a splash of lemon juice, and a pinch of salt. The smooth mixture was spooned into the cucumber shells and chilled until firm enough to slice into neat sections. Each bite combined the crisp snap of the cucumber with the creamy tang of the cheese and the bright fragrance of mint. These boats added a burst of green color to long tables covered with pies and fried meats, and they stood out as a light option amid the heavier fare. Children liked the fun shape, while adults savored the cooling freshness on a hot afternoon of music and fellowship. They embodied the ingenuity of picnic cooks who used garden produce and simple dairy to create a dish that felt elegant yet entirely homemade. Peanut butter and bacon sandwich was a bold combination that balanced salty smoke with creamy sweetness. Long before gourmet burgers stole the spotlight, roadside cafes served this hearty pairing to travelers who needed energy for long drives across dusty highways, Thick strips of crispy bacon were layered over smooth peanut butter on toasted bread, and the heat softened the spread just enough to create a rich, savory blend. Families adopted the recipe during the 1940s when both ingredients were affordable sources of protein and fat, making it a dependable choice for a quick dinner or late-night snack. Soldiers returning from war often requested it as a comforting taste of home, while children loved the mix of flavors that felt like an adventure. In every bite, the sandwich was easy to pack for school lunches and stayed satisfying without refrigeration. Its daring balance of smoky and sweet still surprises modern palates, proving that mid-century cooks were never afraid to push the boundaries of flavor. Beef and onion sandwich spread proved that deli leftovers could turn into a hearty supper in almost no time. Thin slices of roast beef, whether from a weekend dinner or the grocery counter, were chopped fine and folded into a bowl of mayonnaise and diced onions. A splash of Worcestershire sauce and a pinch of black pepper added depth, while the onions provided crunch and a sharp bite. The mixture chilled for just a few minutes while bread toasted and plates were set. Then it was piled thick between slices of rye or soft white sandwich bread. Some families liked a layer of crisp lettuce for freshness, while others spooned the spread onto crackers for an easy snack that still felt like a meal. It stretched a small amount of beef into several servings, saving both time and money while still tasting indulgent. Each bite combined creamy texture with savory meat and a gentle onion heat, the kind of simple pleasure that keeps everyone coming back for seconds. Quick to make, rich to eat, this spread turned odds and ends into a dinner worth remembering, proving that thrift and flavor can happily share the same table. It was the same deal with things like glazed Cornish hens with pecan rice stuffing. I know that sounds like a mouthful, and trust me, it was the best one you could have. This dish did take a decent chunk of time out of your day, and that's honestly thanks to the stuffing and the roasting of the chickens. Perfection takes time, you know? Especially when you have a recipe as touch and go as this. Plus, the rice and pecans for the stuffing always needed to be pre-cooked and seasoned. There wasn't any local canned alternative or convenience food this time, so you had to stick to the old-school way of doing things. All in all, the dish could easily take up to 2 hours thanks to all the processes involved, and it still didn't need a microwave. From start to finish, you can actually get everything in this recipe done on a stovetop. No microwave or oven is needed. After all, this dish has become a Southern and Midwestern classic. It makes use of a smaller bird, but thanks to the rice and stuffing, it really shines through. I just wish it took a little less time. But unfortunately, even having a microwave wouldn't help that. Some things just require you to spend time with them so you can really get the best of what they can offer. Saltine cracker stackers were the kind of quick, sweet snack that kept busy families going when there was not much else to work with. You grabbed some saltine crackers, spread on peanut butter, added banana slices, and drizzled honey over the top if you had it. 10 minutes, maybe less, and you had a snack that stuck to your ribs. This little recipe was everywhere back then, passed around in school lunchrooms, scribbled into community cookbooks, and tucked away in kitchen drawers for emergencies. It sounds simple now, but in a time when grocery budgets were tight and sweet treats were a luxury, saltine cracker stackers filled the gap. They gave kids energy, kept parents sane, and showed just how creative families could be with a box of crackers and a few pantry staples. It might seem forgotten today, but for plenty of households back then, this quick little snack was a lifesaver. Carrot and raisin salad was a sweet and tangy side that brightened many American tables throughout the mid-20th century. Shredded carrots were mixed with plump, sweet raisins and dressed in a creamy or tangy sauce, often based on mayonnaise or yogurt, creating a delightful balance of flavors and textures. This salad was celebrated in Betty Crocker cookbooks for its simplicity and its ability to sneak some vegetables into meals with a touch of sweetness kids would actually enjoy. The natural sugar of the raisins complemented the earthiness of the carrots, while the creamy dressing gave it richness without overwhelming the fresh ingredients. It was often served chilled, providing a cool, refreshing bite that paired well with meat dishes and casseroles. The vibrant orange and dark raisin speckles made it visually appealing, while the crunch of the carrots added a satisfying texture. Carrot and raisin salad remains a nostalgic reminder of home cooking where healthy met tasty in a perfect union. Thank God for whoever decided to make sandwich breads commercially available in stores, because there's just no way I'm baking fresh bread right before or after work. Focaccia bread, in particular, took some work to make from scratch. If you were going the honest chef route, you'd be looking at a few hours of work on the bread alone. If you were like me and always listened when people said, "Work smart, play hard," you'd just get the store variant and enjoy a fresh Italian sandwich in about 10 minutes. Italian immigrants have actually given us a lot, this sandwich included. Most of the recipes you see on our lists, and others as well, are dishes that were originally classics of the many Italian and American neighborhoods in places like Chicago and San Francisco. Focaccia was also something you could get in bakeries as the food from those communities started getting more and more known. But even after the microwave was made, this dish still didn't need one to be good. Sloppy Joe skillet brought a sweet tang to busy weeknights when there was barely time to sit, let alone cook. Ground beef hit the hot skillet first, sizzling as it browned while the cook stirred in chopped onions and a quick sauce of tomato paste, vinegar, brown sugar, and a shake of paprika. Within minutes, the mixture thickened into a rich, saucy filling that perfumed the kitchen with a scent both savory and slightly sweet. Soft sandwich rolls were split and warmed while the beef bubbled, ready to soak up every drop. The sloppy name came alive the moment the mixture met the bread, spilling deliciously over the sides and begging for napkins. Families loved how it stretched a small amount of meat across several sandwiches, and children delighted in the messy fun of every bite. Fast, filling, and friendly to any budget, the Sloppy Joe skillet earned its place as a dependable working man's dinner that felt like a small party at the table. Chutney and cheddar sandwich delivered a bold contrast of sweet and sharp flavors by layering thick mango chutney beneath slices of tangy cheddar on crusty bread. The chutney provided a spiced fruitiness that paired beautifully with the deep bite of aged cheese, creating a combination that felt adventurous yet comforting. Mid-century home cooks embraced this sandwich, as imported chutney became more accessible through specialty markets and women's magazines promoted it as an elegant option for luncheons or cocktail hours. It needed no extra garnish and could be served warm or cold. Depending on the occasion, guests were always surprised by how well the bright chutney balanced the dense cheddar, transforming a simple sandwich into something exciting. Though it eventually faded as global flavors became commonplace, the chutney and cheddar sandwich remains a delicious relic of a time when a single exotic jar could elevate an everyday meal. Pickled watermelon rind. Relish turned what many would throw away into a bright, tangy condiment that lifted every sandwich on the table. After the sweet red fruit was eaten, the firm white rinds were peeled, cubed, and simmered with vinegar, sugar, mustard seeds, and a pinch of cinnamon until they softened, yet kept a pleasant bite. The mixture was packed into jars and chilled, developing a flavor that balanced sweet and sour with a whisper of spice. On picnic day, it was spooned over pulled pork sandwiches, spread across hot biscuits, or served alongside fried fish, where its crispness cut through the richness perfectly. Elders smiled, remembering how this recipe saved money and honored a tradition of wasting nothing, while younger guests were amazed that something so flavorful could come from what most considered scraps. Its bright yellow-green color and lively taste made it a star of the condiment table, and a story every cook was proud to share. This relish captured the resourceful spirit of the 1960s church kitchen, where creativity and care transformed humble leftovers into something truly delicious. Salisbury steak patties with gravy mix offered a hearty plate in minutes, transforming ground beef into something that tasted like a slow Sunday supper. Lean beef was seasoned with onion powder, garlic, and a splash of Worcestershire, then shaped into oval patties and seared in a skillet until crisp on the outside and juicy inside. While the meat browned, a packet of instant brown gravy whisked together with water created a smooth sauce in a separate pan. Once the patties were done, they were nestled into the bubbling gravy for a final simmer that coated them in rich flavor. Served over mashed potatoes or buttered toast, the meal felt far more elaborate than the clock revealed. Working parents loved the speed and the hearty comfort, while children scooped up every drop of gravy with the last crust of bread. It was a dinner that turned a simple pound of beef into something warm, filling, and memorable, the kind of dish that proves convenience and care can live on the same plate. Prune Whip Sandwich transformed the humble prune into a sweet, airy delight by folding a smooth prune puree into lightly whipped cream before spreading it between thin slices of delicate white bread. The result was a soft filling with a gentle caramel flavor that felt both light and indulgent. Mid-century hostesses served it at afternoon teas and bridal showers, where guests appreciated its unexpected sweetness and refined texture. Prunes were valued during the 1940s for their natural sugar content and long shelf life, making this sandwich both economical and appealing to health-conscious families. A dusting of powdered sugar or a hint of vanilla was sometimes added, but the essential charm lay in the simple combination of fruit and cream. Though forgotten by most modern bakers, the Prune Whip Sandwich remains a charming reminder of a time when creative pairings turned pantry staples into elegant treats fit for even the most graceful gatherings and celebrations. Breakfast for dinner. Pancake stack with bacon turned a morning favorite into a fun and filling evening meal. Flour, milk, eggs, and a little baking powder whisked together quickly to form a smooth batter that poured onto a sizzling griddle, sending up a sweet, buttery aroma. Each pancake bubbled and browned in just minutes, ready to stack high while crisp bacon strips cooked in a nearby skillet. The smoky scent of bacon mingled with the warm fragrance of fresh pancakes, creating a kitchen atmosphere both cozy and exciting. Butter melted between layers, while a slow drizzle of warm maple syrup cascaded over the stack, soaking each fluffy round. The salty bacon provided the perfect counterpoint to the soft, sweet pancakes, making every bite a blend of textures and tastes. Families loved the playful switch of serving breakfast at the end of the day, and cleanup was minimal, leaving more time to relax. In less than 20 minutes, this meal offered pure comfort and a gentle reminder that the best dinners are sometimes the ones that break the rules in the most delicious way possible. So, on a much healthier French note, we have chicken amandine. This one was entirely dependent on how fast you were at sautéing. You needed to do that for the chicken. If you could get thin slices of chicken and sauté them in butter, then you were looking at around half an hour at max. It was one of the most convenient French dishes we ever imported from them, to be honest, and it spread in cookbooks like wildfire. You even had celebrity endorsements for this. I mean, who doesn't remember Julia Child shoving this in our faces every other day? Amanda had an audience, though, and it was the most popular in big urban cities and suburban households. It was one of those dishes that seemed fancier than it is, which drew people to it. Plus, it was also convenient that it didn't need any kind of oven or microwave, just simple old open fires and stovetops. You needed a pan to toast the almonds in and a skillet for the chicken, which is honestly most of the dishes on here. Like I said, they're all built without microwaves, even mind, and that even goes for foreign recipes like this one. Baked bean toasties were the kind of quick, hearty meal you could throw together with just a few ingredients and still feel like you had something warm and filling on the table. You toasted up some sandwich bread, heated a can of baked beans, and spooned them over the top with a sprinkle of shredded cheddar if you had it. It sounds basic, but when you were short on groceries and stretched for time, this meal worked wonders. The beans were filling, the toast added crunch, and the cheese made it all feel a little more special. You would see this simple meal show up in New England kitchens, packed into lunchboxes or scribbled into old cookbooks full of fast, affordable recipes. It was not about being fancy, it was about getting something hot and satisfying on the table in under 10 minutes. Today, people might forget how handy meals like this were, but back then, baked bean toasties filled a lot of hungry bellies without breaking the bank. Deviled potato salad put a zesty spin on the traditional potato salad by adding a tangy mustard-based dressing that packed a flavorful punch. This vintage recipe took boiled potatoes and tossed them in a dressing made with yellow mustard, mayonnaise, vinegar, and seasonings to create a vibrant and slightly spicy side dish. Betty Crocker cookbooks celebrated deviled potato salad for its bold taste and easy preparation, making it a favorite at picnics, barbecues, and family gatherings. The mustard gave the creamy salad a lively kick that contrasted nicely with the soft potatoes, adding excitement to a classic comfort food. Often garnished with chopped chives or paprika, this salad brought both color and flavor to the table. It was a dish that pleased crowds by balancing creamy, tangy, and savory elements, all while remaining simple enough for home cooks to prepare in advance. Deviled potato salad remains a nostalgic reminder of inventive takes on beloved American classics. Ham and cheese biscuit sandwiches turned leftovers into a satisfying handheld meal that tasted like a weekend treat even on the busiest night. Flaky biscuits baked from a can or quickly mixed from scratch rose high in the oven while slices of baked ham warmed in a skillet. As soon as the biscuits were golden, they were split open and layered with the savory ham and slices of sharp cheddar or mild American cheese. A few minutes back in the warm oven melted the cheese into a gooey blanket that glued everything together. The salty ham, buttery biscuit, and rich cheese made a perfect combination that required no side dish and no long wait. For families coming home late, this sandwich was both supper and comfort, a way to turn yesterday's roast into tonight's fast feast. Children grabbed them hot from the tray, and the memory of that warm bite remains an echo of efficiency and home-style pleasure. Peanut butter stuffed dates were a small but mighty snack that offered quick energy for children racing across the picnic grounds. Plump pitted dates were split open and carefully filled with creamy peanut butter whose salty richness balanced the natural caramel sweetness of the fruit. A light sprinkle of coarse salt or finely chopped roasted peanuts added crunch and kept the flavors lively. These little bites required no baking and could be prepared in minutes, which made them a favorite for busy church cooks already juggling dozens of dishes. The sticky sweetness clung to fingers and lips, and many children giggled as they tried to eat them neatly, while elders smiled at the familiar sight. Packed into wax paper-lined tins, they traveled perfectly and stayed fresh even in the summer heat. Adults appreciated how such a simple combination could provide lasting energy for long conversations and gospel singing deep into the evening. Every bite carried the warmth of home kitchens where mothers and grandmothers filled plates with love and thrift, turning everyday pantry staples into a treat worth remembering. Sardine and onion sandwich offered a bold oceanic flavor that thrived during an era when tinned fish was an affordable source of protein. Families opened small cans of sardines packed in oil and layered them over slices of hearty brown bread, adding thin rounds of raw onion for a pungent bite. Coastal communities embraced this sandwich for its convenience, while inland households appreciated the long shelf life of preserved fish. The natural oils soaked into the bread, creating a rich texture that required no additional spread. Fishermen often carried it as a portable meal that could withstand long hours at sea, while factory workers found it a quick and sustaining lunch. Despite its strong aroma, it became a beloved staple in many immigrant neighborhoods where similar flavors were common. The pairing of briny fish and sharp onion may seem intense today, but it represents the straightforward, hearty meals that once defined American working-class kitchens. Cabbage and sausage fry-up offered big flavor and a full stomach with almost no preparation. Pre-cooked sausage slices hit the skillet first, releasing fat and spice that would season everything to come. Thin shreds of green cabbage followed, sizzling as they met the hot pan and softening into tender ribbons that soaked up the sausage drippings. A splash of vinegar or a pinch of red pepper flakes brightened the dish, while a quick toss brought everything together in less than 10 minutes. The combination of smoky meat and sweet cabbage made each bite taste richer than its humble ingredients suggested. Served alone or with a slice of bread, it filled plates and satisfied appetites without straining the grocery budget. Working families valued the ease, but they also loved the hearty, old-world flavor that reminded them of meals once cooked slowly, now captured in minutes. Before the age of nationwide Subway, we had things like the Philly-style Italian hoagie. Honestly, you could ask your dad or mom or even your grandparents about this, and they'd probably tell you everything you need to know, like a walking hoagie encyclopedia. It was just the thing to eat back in their day, and just like the dish Caprese wrap, let's just say it was the first thing in people's heads when their stomach started growling. Depending on the preparation, you could be looking at 20 minutes. But if you were really in the rhythm of making this every day, and most people were, you'd be sitting with a sub in about 10. Nowadays, we rely on microwaves to melt our cheeses, warm our vegetables, defrost our meat, and so much more. Back then, some creative people in Philadelphia, Pennsylvania, first had the idea to popularize the hoagie for many reasons. It was something that could fill you up, and it was easy to carry around and eat on the way to work. This is a textbook example of a working-class dish, and it needed absolutely no heat or cooking. Everything was either pre-made or just needed to be cut and assembled, so the time it would take was entirely dependent on how well you knew your way around a knife. Fried bologna and mustard sandwich was a 10-minute fix that never pretended to be fancy, but always hit the spot. You tossed a slice of bologna into a hot pan, let it sizzle until the edges curled, slapped it onto soft bread, and added mustard. That was it. Simple, quick, and surprisingly satisfying. Back in Grandma's day, this showed up when money was tight, groceries were low, or you just needed something fast before heading back to work or school. It was salty, smoky, and the bologna crisped up just enough to feel like real cooking. Kids loved it, adults leaned on it, and every household had their own little spin on the recipe. Some added cheese, some toasted the bread, but most kept it plain and practical. You would not find this in glossy magazines, but you would find it tucked in those old handwritten cookbooks, passed down from one generation to the next. Another quick forgotten gem from a time when meals had to be fast, filling, and affordable. Creamed spinach was a rich and traditional vegetable accompaniment that found its way onto many classic American dinner tables. Tender spinach leaves were cooked down and enveloped in a smooth, creamy white sauce made from butter, cream, and sometimes cheese or nutmeg. This dish was prized for its silky texture and deep, comforting flavor, making it an ideal partner for steaks, roasts, and holiday meals. Betty Crocker cookbooks frequently included creamed spinach as a reliable crowd pleaser, offering home cooks a way to elevate greens into a luxurious side dish. The creaminess softened the sometimes bitter edge of spinach, creating a luscious mouthfeel that felt indulgent yet nourishing. Its glossy, pale green appearance made it visually inviting, and its rich flavor helped balance hearty mains. Creamed spinach remains a symbol of timeless comfort food, showcasing how simple ingredients can create a dish full of warmth and nostalgia. Cheeseburger. Mac Skillet turned a single pan into a complete dinner that filled plates and quieted hungry stomachs. Elbow macaroni boiled in salted water while ground beef browned in a deep skillet with chopped onions and a dusting of garlic powder. The drained pasta was folded into the sizzling meat along with a handful of shredded cheddar and a splash of milk, creating a creamy sauce as everything mingled over low heat. The smell of melting cheese and seared beef brought everyone to the kitchen before the cook could even call them. In less than 20 minutes, the dish was ready, bubbling and rich, served straight from the pan to eager bowls. Families loved how it combined the familiar taste of a cheeseburger with the comfort of macaroni and cheese, turning two favorites into one speedy supper. Leftovers reheated beautifully, though they rarely lasted long. Affordable, filling, and fun to eat, this skillet meal proved that a fast dinner could still taste like a weekend indulgence, feeding both nostalgia and appetite in every creamy, beefy bite. Date and walnut tea sandwich brought a gentle sweetness to formal gatherings, where coffee and soft conversation flowed. In equal measure, cooks began by simmering dates until they softened into a thick paste which they mixed with finely chopped walnuts for a filling that felt both decadent and practical. During the mid-century years, sugar could be expensive and fruit was a clever way to sweeten bread without adding costly ingredients. Tea rooms and women's clubs served these sandwiches with the crusts removed and the slices cut into delicate shapes that fit neatly on a porcelain plate. The nutty aroma paired beautifully with a hot cup of black tea and gave the impression of luxury. While remaining budget-friendly for homemakers, the mixture could be prepared a day ahead and kept in a cool pantry, which made entertaining far less stressful. Despite its elegance, this sandwich belonged to everyday life as much as it did to special occasions, making it a cherished memory for those who tasted its mellow blend of fruit and nuts. Macaroni with butter and black pepper offered pure comfort with almost no effort, turning a handful of pantry staples into a bowl of creamy warmth. Elbow macaroni boiled quickly in salted water while butter melted in a waiting pot. The drained pasta was tossed directly into the melted butter, and a heavy shower of freshly ground black pepper coated each piece, releasing a fragrant spice that filled the room. A small scoop of grated Parmesan, if available, added a gentle richness, but even without it, the dish delivered deep satisfaction. Ready in less than 15 minutes, it soothed the end of a long day with its silky texture and simple flavor. Children loved the mild, buttery taste, while adults appreciated the subtle heat of the pepper and the reminder that good food does not always demand a complex recipe. This humble meal has endured for generations because it proves that speed, thrift, and pleasure can happily share the same pot when hunger calls for something immediate and comforting. The Sloppy Joe pasta is a Hall of Famer in its own right. This is a pasta twist on the traditional Sloppy Joe, which takes all the best parts of the sandwich, including that delectable ground beef, and mixes it with pasta. Sloppy Joes are always something America looks back on as really friendly. It was arguably one of the country's bestest friends during the Depression, after all. The pasta version wanted to carry that spirit forward by making it even more long-lasting as a recipe. By that, I'm referring to how a good Joe would always require minimal ingredients so your pantry would last a lot longer than normal. Pasta versions were even more minimalist with their ingredients, and yet it still was able to easily feed a crowd. You could make the entire thing in a pot, and the most you'd need time for was the browning of the ground beef and the tomato-based sauce. The pasta itself barely took around 10 minutes, really. All in all, it was a great twist on an iconic comfort food, and it was just as convenient as the original. Cinnamon sugar butter toast was the kind of simple comfort food that could brighten up an afternoon in under 10 minutes, especially when there was not much else to work with. You toasted up some bread, slathered it with butter, sprinkled on cinnamon and sugar, and called it a snack. That was it. Quick, sweet, and surprisingly satisfying when groceries were scarce and everyone needed a little pick-me-up. It sounds simple, but back then, families leaned on recipes like this to stretch ingredients and turn basic pantry staples into something that felt like a treat. The butter gave it richness, the cinnamon sugar added sweetness, and the toast made it crunchy enough to feel special. You would find this little recipe scribbled onto old note cards, tucked into community cookbooks, or passed down through generations as a fast, affordable way to keep kids happy and tummies full. It might be forgotten today, but for plenty of homes back then, cinnamon sugar butter toast was the perfect fix for long afternoons and short grocery lists. Cheese and pineapple skewers were a fun and flavorful appetizer side that perfectly blended sweet and savory notes. Cubed cheese, often cheddar or a mild American variety, was paired with juicy pineapple chunks on toothpicks, creating bite-sized delights that were both refreshing and rich. This combination featured prominently in Betty Crocker cookbooks as a party favorite and an easy-to-prepare hors d'oeuvre. The sharpness of the cheese contrasted with the tropical sweetness of the pineapple, making every bite a balanced explosion of flavors. These skewers were popular at potlucks, holiday gatherings, and casual get-togethers, offering a colorful and attractive option that was simple yet sophisticated. The ease of assembly made them a go-to for hosts wanting to impress without fuss. Their combination of textures, creamy cheese and juicy fruit, made for an unexpectedly delightful treat that could easily double as a side dish or a snack. Cheddar and broccoli omelet made a hearty egg dinner with bright color and bold flavor in minutes. Eggs were whisked with a splash of milk and a pinch of black pepper, then poured into a hot skillet where butter foamed at the edges. Fresh or frozen broccoli florets steamed quickly in the microwave or in a small pan, keeping their green snap and gentle sweetness. As the eggs began to set, sharp cheddar cheese was scattered across the surface, releasing a nutty scent as it melted. The broccoli folded inside added texture and an earthy contrast to the creamy eggs. In less than 10 minutes, the omelet slid onto a plate, golden on the outside and gooey within. Served with toasted bread or a handful of greens, it offered both comfort and nourishment, proving that dinner can be simple yet feel complete. This dish turned basic staples into a meal that pleased everyone at the table while leaving only one pan to wash, making it ideal for nights when time and patience were in short supply, but good food was still essential. Maple-flavored sweet potato cakes filled the air with the scent of warm syrup and earthy roots. Instant mashed sweet potatoes were combined with a splash of milk, a dusting of cinnamon, and a drizzle of maple flavoring to form a smooth batter. Small scoops of this mixture were dropped onto a hot griddle and flattened gently with the back of a spoon. Within minutes, the cakes developed a golden crust while remaining tender inside. A quick brush of melted butter and a second drizzle of maple syrup created a glistening glaze that caught the afternoon sunlight. These cakes were hearty enough to serve as a main dish or as a sweet side alongside fried chicken and collard greens. Children loved their pancake-like texture, and adults appreciated how fast and affordable they were to make. They proved that even instant ingredients could become something special when guided by skilled hands and a desire to nourish a community gathered in faith and fellowship beneath the wide blue sky of a summer afternoon. Cornbread and pinto beans bowl turned leftover staples into a 10-minute dinner that warmed both stomach and spirit. Cold cornbread from the previous night was crumbled into wide bowls while a pot of pre-cooked pinto beans reheated on the stove with a splash of water and a pinch of chili powder. As the beans bubbled, their smoky scent filled the air, carrying memories of long simmering meals that once took hours. The hot beans were ladled over the cornbread, their broth soaking into every crumb until the bowl became a soft, savory stew. A drizzle of hot sauce or a spoonful of chopped onions added brightness, though many enjoyed it plain, letting the natural flavor of the beans and the sweet cornmeal shine. It was a dish of pure practicality, stretching yesterday's work into today's dinner without a single complaint. Quick to prepare and impossible to tire of, this simple bowl proved that good food is often nothing more than humble ingredients handled with care and eaten with gratitude. Continuing on the same healthy note, you might have noticed that a lot of people tend to prefer the likes of beans and lentils over double-fried patties with extra cheese. Things like avocado and chickpea tacos were such a hit in the pre-microwave era, but they didn't start being a daily meal until pre-cooked chickpeas and canned ones came around. For about 25 cents a piece, you no longer had to spend hours on the stovetop soaking and cooking chickpeas, and the avocado was again just a matter of how fast you could be with a knife. The tortillas might have been cooked on a griddle or skillet, but all you really needed was a mortar to grind the chickpeas in. All in all, it was a pretty no-fuss manual process that didn't take much out of you or your wallet and left you fuller and healthier. I kind of make it sound like people were actively choosing to be healthy in some nationwide movement surrounding greener eating, but it wasn't often like that. You had your condensed soup to get through Monday and your bread and legumes, molasses, and other typical foods. That was because a lot of things were getting expensive thanks to the terrible conditions of the economy at the time, and things like soup exploded in popularity as a result. Didn't help that boomers kind of went wild with the entire starting a family thing. It was pretty common for homes to consist of at least 4 to 5 people. Condensed soup was pretty much a war period classic that was something you'd find in both urban and rural areas. Pop open some Campbell's tomato soup that just needed a bit of water and heat, and voila, you were enjoying the best modernity had to offer, a pre-cooked soup. Mayonnaise and pineapple salad might sound odd now, but back in Grandma's day, it was one of those quirky little recipes that everyone knew how to throw together in minutes. You grabbed a can of pineapple slices, plopped them on a plate, added a dollop of mayonnaise, and sprinkled on shredded cheddar if you had it. It was sweet, tangy, creamy, and surprisingly satisfying. Some folks added a cherry on top to dress it up, but most kept it plain and practical. You would see this salad at potlucks, church socials, or as a quick side dish on busy weeknights when dinner needed help stretching. It was fast, used ingredients people always had around, and filled that gap between sweet and savory in a way that only vintage recipes could. Today, people might wrinkle their noses at the thought, but back then, it was a 10-minute solution to hungry families and empty cupboards. Another forgotten gem from the cookbook that kept so many homes running. Broiled grapefruit with brown sugar was a simple yet elegant side dish that warmed many hearts and kitchens. Halved grapefruits were topped generously with brown sugar, then broiled until caramelized, creating a slightly crisp, golden crust that contrasted with the juicy, tart fruit beneath. The result was a warm, zesty bite that balanced sweetness and tang in a way that felt both indulgent and healthy. This dish appeared in Betty Crocker cookbooks as a bright finish to heavier meals or as a breakfast treat for those wanting something fresh yet comforting. The caramelized sugar added depth and a subtle crunch, turning humble grapefruit into a dessert-like delight. It was especially popular during winter, when citrus was in season and the warm oven created a cozy kitchen atmosphere. The blend of warmth, tartness, and sweet caramel made this side dish memorable, and it often became a topic of conversation at the family table. It was a wonderful example of how simple ingredients could be transformed into something special with just a broiler and a little patience. Cornbread and pinto beans bowl turned leftover staples into a 10-minute dinner that warmed both stomach and spirit. Cold cornbread from the previous night was crumbled into wide bowls while a pot of pre-cooked pinto beans reheated on the stove with a splash of water and a pinch of chili powder. As the beans bubbled, their smoky scent filled the air, carrying memories of long simmering meals that once took hours. The hot beans were ladled over the cornbread, their broth soaking into every crumb until the bowl became a soft, savory stew. A drizzle of hot sauce or a spoonful of chopped onions added brightness, though many enjoyed it plain, letting the natural flavor of the beans and the sweet cornmeal shine. It was a dish of pure practicality, stretching yesterday's work into today's dinner without a single complaint. Quick to prepare and impossible to tire of, this simple bowl proved that good food is often nothing more than humble ingredients handled with care and eaten with gratitude. Bologna and grape jelly bites were a playful mix of sweet and savory that often surprised newcomers but quickly won them over. Thin slices of bologna were spread lightly with grape jelly rolled into tight spirals and secured with wooden toothpicks. The salty meat paired unexpectedly well with the fruity sweetness, creating a bite that was both nostalgic and exciting. These little rolls were easy to make in large batches and packed neatly into tins for travel. Children were especially drawn to their shiny purple centers and fun presentation, while adults found the combination oddly addictive once they gave it a try. They fit perfectly alongside other finger foods like deviled eggs and cheese cubes and brought a flash of color to the buffet table. This dish captured the resourceful nature of home cooks who blended humble ingredients into something festive and memorable that sparked conversation long after the last hymn faded across the sunny churchyard. Ham and pickle relish sandwich delivered a zesty twist to leftover ham by grinding it fine and mixing it with sweet pickle relish and a dab of mustard until the filling became a tangy spread that woke up any slice of bread. It was a thrifty recipe that turned holiday leftovers into weekday lunches, stretching every bit of meat during the lean years of the 1940s. Community cookbooks praised it for its bold flavor and economical use of ingredients. Families enjoyed the bright contrast of salty ham and sweet relish, while the mustard added a gentle heat that cut through the richness. It traveled well wrapped in wax paper for school or factory lunches, and stayed moist without refrigeration, making it a favorite of workers and picnickers alike. As the years passed, delicatessens shifted toward heavier cured meats, and the humble ham and pickle relish sandwich faded from menus, but its lively balance of sweet, sour, and savory still deserves a modern revival. The whole need for convenient food without convenience tools like microwaves inspired things like wraps and deli food. One pretty popular and healthy choice was the avocado caprese wrap. It was kind of the boomer equivalent to a street-side shawarma back then. The whole thing was a 15-minute affair that used ingredients that were already prepared, and in places like California, most vendors really built up their speed over the long workdays. You had wraps available to you in as little as 5 minutes on a good day. And forget the microwave, this time you didn't even need any kind of stove. No cooking, heating, nothing to do with fire or knives involved. All you had to do was either assemble things yourself, which was just basic stuff like basil, cheese, and avocados, or wait for any of the many street sellers. And trust me, there wasn't a street in big cities that didn't have a designated wrap guy. Ranchero bean tostadas. brought the lively spirit of a cantina to the weeknight table using only a few ingredients. Crisp corn tortillas toasted under the broiler formed a sturdy base for creamy refried beans straight from the can, warmed with a dash of cumin and a spoonful of diced tomatoes. A quick sprinkle of shredded cheddar melted under the heat, creating a golden crust that held everything together. Fresh salsa, sliced jalapenos, and a handful of chopped cilantro added color and brightness, turning a simple pantry meal into a vibrant feast. In less than 15 minutes, each tostada emerged hot and ready, inviting everyone to add their favorite toppings like sour cream or diced avocado. The crunchy base and savory beans offered a satisfying contrast that pleased both children and adults, proving that meatless dinners can still feel indulgent and filling. Every bite carried smoky spice and fresh garden flavor, perfect for nights when time was short, but a craving for bold taste remained strong, making this dish a regular star in kitchens that celebrated speed and flavor in equal measure. Pimento cheese on saltines was a southern staple that turned a few pantry ingredients into a quick, satisfying snack when groceries were running thin. You mixed up pimento cheese, usually some shredded cheddar, mayonnaise, chopped pimentos, and spread it over saltine crackers. That was it. 10 minutes or less, and you had something creamy, salty, and packed with flavor to hold you over until dinner. It might sound simple now, but back then, this little recipe kept homes running when budgets were stretched and time was short. The saltines gave it crunch, the pimento cheese added richness, and together they made a snack that showed up at school lunches, church picnics, or as a quick fix on busy afternoons. You would find this recipe scribbled onto old note cards, tucked in faded cookbooks, or passed down through generations of families who knew how to make the most of what they had. It might be forgotten today, but for plenty of folks back then, pimento cheese on saltines was a fast, filling favorite that saved the day more than once. Baked sweet potato fries were a popular twist on the classic potato side, offering a sweet and savory alternative that baked to crispy perfection. Thinly sliced sweet potatoes were tossed in seasonings, often cinnamon, salt, or paprika, and baked until tender on the inside and slightly crisp on the edges. This healthier option appeared in many Betty Crocker cookbooks as a way to enjoy fries without deep frying, perfect for families seeking convenience and flavor. The natural sweetness of the potatoes paired beautifully with the warm spices, creating a comforting side that complemented both casual meals and special dinners. Baked sweet potato fries were easy to prepare and could be customized with various seasoning blends, making them versatile for many tastes. Their vibrant orange color brightened the plate, and the satisfying crunch made them a hit with kids and adults alike. These fries were a testament to how a simple vegetable could be transformed into a crowd-pleasing side that brought both nostalgia and a fresh twist to the table. Smashed peas and potatoes was a creamy, comforting side dish that combined mashed peas and potatoes into a smooth, lightly seasoned blend. This vintage recipe appeared in Betty Crocker cookbooks as an economical and satisfying vegetable side that brought together the best of two staples. Peas were cooked until tender, then mashed together with boiled potatoes, butter, salt, and pepper to create a velvety texture and harmonious flavor. The dish was praised for its simplicity and heartiness, offering a way to stretch ingredients while still delivering on taste and nutrition. Smashed peas and potatoes was often served with roasted meats or fried dishes, providing a creamy and slightly sweet complement. Its mild flavor and smooth consistency made it a family-friendly choice that could be prepared quickly and easily. This recipe reflects the mid-century focus on comfort and practicality in the kitchen, turning simple vegetables into a satisfying and nostalgic side dish. Cold canned salmon salad was one of those quick, thrifty meals that turned an inexpensive pantry staple into a fast, protein-packed plate when groceries were running low. You flaked canned salmon into a bowl, stirred in mayonnaise, and chopped celery if you had it, and served it up cold. That was all there was to it. Fast, simple, and surprisingly satisfying when families needed something filling in a hurry. It might not sound exciting now, but back then, this recipe showed up in lunchboxes, on picnic tables, or tucked onto a dinner plate when meat was scarce and time was tight. The salmon added protein, The mayo brought it all together, and the celery gave it crunch if you were lucky enough to have some in the fridge. Families leaned on meals like this to stretch their groceries and keep everyone full without much effort. You would find cold-canned salmon salad scribbled onto old recipe cards, passed down by neighbors, or quietly tucked into Grandma's collection of forgotten quick meals. It might be overlooked now, but back then this was a reliable 10-minute fix when money was tight. Crab rangoon is a crispy wonton filled with a creamy crab mixture, deep-fried to a golden crisp. This appetizer blends savory and sweet flavors, making it popular, especially among seafood lovers. The origins of crab rangoon are somewhat mysterious, but it's believed to have been created at Trader Vic's, a tiki-themed restaurant in San Francisco in the 1940s. The filling typically includes cream cheese, crab meat, green onions, and seasonings, wrapped in a wonton wrapper and deep-fried. The result is a crispy, creamy, and flavorful appetizer that pairs well with sweet and sour or plum sauce. Crab rangoon's unique combination of flavors and textures has made it a favorite at Chinese-American restaurants and tiki bars. It's a great example of how American cuisine has adapted and reinvented traditional dishes from other cultures, leading to its iconic status. When it comes to budget, nothing screams out more than that of chicken and dumplings. The meal can be regarded as boring, but it's a great-tasting delicacy, especially during those cold winter months. Besides it being a great tummy filler, it is truly a great way to cook economically, as all you need to do for the chicken is boil it to the brim of shreds, either in some chicken stock. Next, boil together. As easy as this dish sounds, it is a true version of what family-oriented meals mean. It began as a mainstay in many homes during the Great Depression. Yet, other experts claim that this kind of eating originated when German immigrants first came to America, with the word dumpling translating to Knödel in German. Pimento cheese and pineapple sandwich balanced savory and sweet in a way that captured the playful creativity of mid-century American cooking classic pimento cheese provided creamy sharpness, while juicy pineapple rings added a burst of tropical sweetness that kept every bite exciting. The combination might sound surprising, but it was beloved at picnics and bridge clubs, where hosts aimed to impress with unexpected pairings during the 1950s. Canned pineapple was inexpensive and widely available, while pimento cheese remained a Southern staple, making the sandwich affordable and accessible. The tangy cheese melded with the fruit's bright flavor to create a filling that was both hearty and refreshing. Guests remembered its cheerful colors and satisfying mix of textures long after the plates were cleared. Today, the pimento cheese and pineapple sandwich stands as a delicious reminder that bold flavor contrasts can produce timeless recipes that deserve to be rediscovered and enjoyed once again. Ham and cheese biscuit sandwiches turned leftovers into a satisfying handheld meal that tasted like a weekend treat even on the busiest night. Flaky biscuits baked from a can or quickly mixed from scratch rose high in the oven while slices of baked ham warmed in a skillet. As soon as the biscuits were golden, they were split open and layered with the savory ham and slices of sharp cheddar or mild American cheese. A few minutes back in the warm oven melted the cheese into a gooey blanket that glued everything together. The salty ham, buttery biscuit, and rich cheese made a perfect combination that required no side dish and no long wait. For families coming home late, this sandwich was both supper and comfort, a way to turn yesterday's roast into tonight's fast feast. Children grabbed them hot from the tray, and the memory of that warm bite remains an echo of efficiency and home-style pleasure. Eggnog salad. Dressing added a festive sparkle to the picnic table even beneath a blazing summer sun. Store-bought eggnog was whisked with cider vinegar, a spoonful of smooth Dijon mustard, and a drizzle of golden honey to create a creamy dressing with subtle holiday spice. Poured over crisp garden greens, sliced apples, or a simple fruit salad, it coated every bite with gentle sweetness and a soft nutmeg fragrance. The vinegar's sharpness balanced the richness, giving a flavor both celebratory and refreshing. Because it required no cooking and only a few pantry staples, the dressing came together in moments, making it ideal for last-minute gatherings when the fellowship hall was already humming with music. Elders smiled at the nostalgic taste of winter, while children enjoyed the dessert-like twist that turned plain vegetables into something special. This clever recipe proved that even a seasonal drink could be reimagined into a bright summer dish, extending holiday cheer to a sunny afternoon of fellowship and song. Minute steak with onion gravy delivered the taste of a slow Sunday supper in a fraction of the time. Ultra-thin beef steaks hit a hot skillet and browned within moments, releasing a rich aroma as they seared. After the meat was set aside, sliced onions cooked in the drippings until they softened and turned sweet. Then a splash of beef broth and a dusting of flour transformed the pan juices into a smooth, savory gravy. The steaks returned to the pan for a brief simmer, soaking up the onion-infused sauce. Served with buttered toast or a mound of mashed potatoes, the dish tasted like comfort that had taken all afternoon, even though it was ready in less than 20 minutes. Families appreciated its hearty flavor and quick cleanup, while the fragrant gravy made the kitchen smell welcoming and warm. Each forkful combined tender beef and silky onions, a reminder that a satisfying meal does not require hours of preparation when technique and simple ingredients come together perfectly. Anchovy and egg sandwich offered a bold coastal flavor that appealed to those who loved a briny bite. Finely chopped anchovies were blended with butter and mashed hard-cooked eggs, creating a creamy, salty spread that was both rich and nourishing. This hearty mixture found popularity in port cities and immigrant neighborhoods where tinned anchovies were inexpensive and plentiful. Families appreciated the protein boost during the lean war years, while diners enjoyed the unique taste that stood out among milder lunch offerings. A squeeze of lemon or a pinch of black pepper often rounded out the filling served on rye or crusty white bread. It provided a satisfying lunch that required no refrigeration and little effort. By the 1950s, changing tastes and a move towards sweeter, milder flavors pushed it aside. But the anchovy and egg sandwich still carries the memory of an era when bold ingredients and simple preparation came together to create something unforgettable and full of character. Fried bologna. Sandwich with mustard brought quick satisfaction to tired working families who needed a hot dinner without fuss. Thick slices of bologna were scored so they curled as they hit a sizzling cast iron skillet, filling the kitchen with a smoky aroma that signaled something good was minutes away. While the bologna browned, slices of white bread were lightly toasted and brushed with butter for extra flavor. A generous swipe of yellow mustard added tang, and some cooks layered in thin slices of onion or a single leaf of crisp lettuce if they had it. The heat from the skillet gave the meat a crisp edge and a savory depth that transformed a humble cold cut into a hearty main course. Children loved the salty, slightly sweet taste and the way the sandwich stayed warm as they carried it to the table. Parents loved that dinner was ready before the evening news began. It was fast, filling, and cheap. Everything a working household needed at the end of a long day. Even today, one bite of that hot sandwich can summon memories of late nights, hard work, and the comfort of a meal that respected both time and appetite. You might have come here expecting a meal that could make you completely filled. That's why I want you to meet the ground beef Wellington, which is a pretty nifty little rendition of a classic. Sausages don't really set the bar too high. They make for a pretty good snack, and in some cases, with a bit of creativity, even a pretty good meal. A main course would be something that could fill you up and have you walk away feeling like you're completely full. Now, back in the days before 1945, which is when the microwave was patented, making a puff pastry was a real pain in the neck. You could try, and a lot of people would, but it was something you needed a good reason for. Not at all something you'd rely on for a quick meal to wash away the hunger. That's where ground beef came in, and man, this was a national win for boomers. The thing is, it was a much cheaper and less labor-intensive way to make it, and before this, Wellington was mostly something expensive that only the rich got often. The best part was that it was something that just needed an oven, and the beef itself was something you could sear up in on your stove. You didn't need anything like a microwave or any kind of fancy pastry-making skills. After all, quick, tasty, and easy is the American way. Sardine and onion sandwiches were one of those quick, no-frills meals that filled hungry workers up fast and showed up in plenty of lunch pails across America. You opened a tin of sardines, laid them on rye bread, added some raw onion slices, and that was it. Simple, salty, and ready in under 10 minutes. It might sound harsh now, but back when protein was hard to come by and groceries were scarce, this was a go-to meal. The sardines gave you the protein, the onions added bite, and the rye bread kept you full. You would find this sandwich scribbled into old cookbooks, passed around among factory workers, or tucked into lunch boxes for folks heading out the door. It was never fancy, but it worked. Today, most people have forgotten how handy meals like this were, but back then, sardine and onion sandwiches helped plenty of families stretch what little they had and stay full through long, hard days. Baked parsnips with honey was a sweet and warming side that showcased roasted parsnips glazed with honey and herbs for a unique vintage flavor. This dish appeared in Betty Crocker cookbooks as a comforting root vegetable recipe that turned humble parsnips into a subtly sweet, caramelized delight. The parsnips were peeled, sliced, and baked until tender, then drizzled with honey and sprinkled with herbs such as thyme or rosemary to add fragrance and depth. The honey enhanced the natural sweetness of the parsnips, creating a rich glaze that coated each bite with warmth and flavor. Served alongside roasted meats or poultry, this side brought a touch of elegance and seasonal comfort to the table. Baked parsnips with honey captured the mid-century love for transforming simple vegetables into memorable dishes through the magic of roasting and glazing. It remains a nostalgic favorite for those seeking a sweet and savory vegetable accompaniment with old-fashioned charm. Creamed peas on toast turned a bag of frozen peas and a little flour into a fast dinner that warmed the evening. Butter melted in a skillet while a spoonful of flour was whisked in to make a smooth roux. Then milk streamed in to form a creamy sauce. The peas went straight from freezer to pan, bright green against the pale gravy as they softened and released their sweetness. Thick slices of bread toasted in the same pan or under a quick broiler became the foundation, soaking up the sauce while staying crisp at the edges. A sprinkle of black pepper and a pinch of nutmeg gave the dish surprising depth, proof that simple pantry ingredients could still feel indulgent. Families loved how it filled plates in less than 10 minutes and cost almost nothing, making it a dependable weeknight standby. Children liked the mild flavor and the fun of cutting through the soft bread with a fork, while adults found comfort in its quiet, creamy richness. One bite carried the memory of suppers built on thrift and ingenuity, a reminder that speed and satisfaction can share the same plate when time and money are scarce, but hunger is real. Radish and butter tea sandwiches brought a cool garden freshness to the heavy tables of fried chicken and sweet cakes. Paper-thin slices of peppery radish were laid over squares of soft white bread, generously spread with creamy butter. A pinch of flaky salt highlighted the contrast between the mild richness of the butter and the crisp, sharp bite of the radish. These dainty sandwiches were cut into neat rectangles or triangles and stacked on china plates or simple enamel trays depending on the church's supplies. They provided a delicate counterpoint to the more filling picnic staples and reminded everyone of the season's first harvest from backyard plots. Children often reached for them out of curiosity and discovered a flavor that was both bright and satisfying. Because they could be prepared quickly and held well in the cool shade, they became a dependable offering at many gatherings. Their simplicity captured the essence of the era when garden vegetables and homemade bread were celebrated as everyday gifts to be shared in fellowship and gratitude. Sloppy Joe skillet brought a sweet tang to busy weeknights when there was barely time to sit, let alone cook. Ground beef hit the hot skillet first, sizzling as it browned while the cook stirred in chopped onions and a quick sauce of tomato paste, vinegar, brown sugar, and a shake of paprika. Within minutes, the mixture thickened into a rich, saucy filling that perfumed the kitchen with a scent both savory and slightly sweet. Soft sandwich rolls were split and warmed while the beef bubbled, ready to soak up every drop. The sloppy name came alive the moment the mixture met the bread, spilling deliciously over the sides and begging for napkins. Families loved how it stretched a small amount of meat across several sandwiches, and children delighted in the messy fun of every bite. Fast, filling, and friendly to any budget, the Sloppy Joe skillet earned its place as a dependable working man's dinner that felt like a small party at the table. Apricot cottage cheese loaf offered a cool and creamy surprise that stood out among the many church picnic dishes of the 1960s. Slices of soft white bread were spread with a light mixture of whipped cottage cheese blended until smooth with a dash of sugar and a few drops of lemon for brightness. Sweet canned apricots were drained carefully, then chopped into small pieces and folded into the cheese to add a gentle fruitiness. Each slice was rolled tightly into a neat spiral, then wrapped in wax paper and chilled until firm. When unwrapped at the picnic, the loaf revealed beautiful golden swirls against the snowy filling, and each piece sliced cleanly without losing its shape. The taste balanced mild, tangy cheese with the soft sweetness of apricot, creating a refreshing bite that was neither too heavy nor too sweet for a summer afternoon. It traveled well in coolers packed with ice, making it a practical choice for long drives to countryside gatherings where families sang hymns and shared stories beneath tall oak trees. Children loved the bright colors, while adults enjoyed how this loaf brought a touch of elegance to the long wooden tables filled with beloved recipes passed from generation to generation. Pineapple cream cheese sandwich was a bright surprise in an era when winter fruit was rare, and often canned families would drain crushed pineapple until it was almost dry, then fold it gently into softened cream cheese to create a light tropical spread when placed between thin slices of crustless bread. It offered a refreshing contrast to the heavier savory meals of the 1950s. This sandwich appeared at baby showers, church potlucks, and summer picnics where its cheerful flavor reminded guests of faraway places. Many cooks added a touch of lemon juice to keep the filling tangy, and to balance the sweetness of the fruit. Children loved the mild sweetness, and adults appreciated how easy it was to prepare. Especially when other ingredients were hard to find, the mixture also stored well in a cool kitchen, so it could be made in the morning and served in the afternoon with no loss of texture. Even now, one bite of this soft and creamy blend can transport a person to those lively mid-century gatherings. So soups like that were some pretty solid one-pot options. But what about one-pan recipes? You have your amandines, but maybe you're a carb person. In that case, I got some potato kielbasa for you. The good news is all you need is a skillet. There's no bad news because you can't ever have that with potatoes. It was a simple 30 to 40-minute endeavor that required you to dice some potatoes, pan-fry them, and then comes the kielbasa. Just like Vienna sausages, this was a pre-made sausage that didn't need anything but a slight browning in the skillet alongside the onions and vegetables. It was entirely a dish we got from European immigrant communities. States and areas with a large German or European presence, like Pittsburgh and Detroit, got the best and most authentic versions of this. All it needed was a skillet, and you couldn't do better than a sausage and potato dish back in those early days. Applesauce and cottage cheese bowls were one of those sweet, simple meals that came together in minutes, filling the gap between breakfast, lunch, or even dessert when there was not much to spare in the pantry. You would scoop a generous helping of cottage cheese into a bowl, spoon cool applesauce over the top, and maybe add a little cinnamon if you had some lying around. That was all there was to it. It sounds plain now, but back when groceries were scarce and money had to stretch, this quick little bowl was a lifesaver. It was light, cool, sweet, and packed with enough protein to hold you over during busy days. In the 1960s, families leaned on easy meals like this to keep things running, especially when both time and ingredients were in short supply. You would find this simple recipe scribbled in old cookbooks, shared between neighbors, or tucked into handwritten kitchen notes passed down through the years. Some folks dressed it up with fruit or nuts if they had them, but most kept it practical and affordable. It might be forgotten today, but applesauce and cottage cheese bowls kept plenty of households fed, happy, and full with little more than two everyday staples. Glazed pearl onions were a beloved holiday side dish that brought sweetness and elegance to many mid-century tables. These small, tender onions were gently cooked in butter and brown sugar until perfectly caramelized, their natural sweetness enhanced by the rich glaze. The result was a dish that offered both a soft texture and a shiny, inviting coating, making it a standout accompaniment for roasted meats and festive dinners. Betty Crocker cookbooks often included this recipe, praising its simple ingredients and impressive flavor. Glazed pearl onions were considered a luxurious yet accessible way to add a touch of sophistication without complicated preparation. Their subtle sweetness balanced savory mains, making them a favorite during Thanksgiving and Christmas meals. The buttery glaze clung to every bite, creating a harmony of flavors that felt both indulgent and comforting. It was a dish that could elevate any holiday spread, yet remain easy enough for home cooks to prepare with confidence. Cabbage and sausage fry-up offered big flavor and a full stomach with almost no preparation. Pre-cooked sausage slices hit the skillet first, releasing fat and spice that would season everything to come. Thin shreds of green cabbage followed, sizzling as they met the hot pan and softening into tender ribbons that soaked up the sausage drippings. A splash of vinegar or a pinch of red pepper flakes brightened the dish, while a quick toss brought everything together in less than 10 minutes. The combination of smoky meat and sweet cabbage made each bite taste richer than its humble ingredients suggested. Served alone or with a slice of bread, it filled plates and satisfied appetites without straining the grocery budget. Working families valued the ease, but they also loved the hearty, old-world flavor that reminded them of meals once cooked slowly, now captured in minutes. Cold spaghetti omelet transformed yesterday's dinner into a surprising lunch treat that delighted thrifty church cooks. Leftover spaghetti, often sauced lightly with tomato, was folded into beaten eggs, seasoned with black pepper and a touch of grated cheese, then poured into a hot skillet. As it cooked, the pasta strands settled into a golden crust while the eggs puffed gently around them. The omelet was flipped once to achieve a crisp exterior and a tender interior that sliced easily into wedges. Served at room temperature, it traveled well and stayed tasty even after hours on the picnic table. This dish reflected the inventive spirit of home cooks who refused to waste a single noodle and proved that a satisfying meal could come from simple leftovers. Children enjoyed the playful texture, while adults appreciated the hearty flavor that paired perfectly with fresh greens or sliced tomatoes from the church garden. It stood as a testament to resourcefulness and the belief that no blessing, however small, should ever be thrown away. Horseradish beet sandwich brought bold flavor and vivid color to the table with shredded beets mixed into a creamy horseradish dressing and spread generously on slices of hearty rye bread. The sweet earthiness of the beets balanced the sharp heat of the horseradish for a taste that was lively and unforgettable. Families discovered this recipe during the 1940s when root vegetables were plentiful and inexpensive, providing both nutrition and visual appeal. It quickly became a popular choice for winter lunches, offering warmth of flavor without requiring scarce meats. Hosts loved how the striking red filling brightened buffet tables and impressed guests with minimal effort, while tastes have grown milder over time. This sandwich remains a vivid example of how thrifty ingredients can create striking dishes that delight the senses and satisfy the appetite, making it a true vintage treasure for adventurous modern eaters seeking something different and colorful. Meatball sub with jarred sauce turned a simple grocery shortcut into a filling dinner that satisfied every craving for Italian flavor without a long simmer. Pre-made meatballs went straight from the freezer into a skillet of bubbling jarred marinara, their aroma mingling with garlic and herbs as they heated through. Crusty sandwich rolls toasted under the broiler until the edges crisped and the centers stayed soft. As soon as the meatballs were hot and coated in rich sauce, they were spooned into the warm rolls and showered with shredded mozzarella that melted instantly. The result was a hearty sandwich with tender meat, tangy tomato, and gooey cheese in every bite, ready in less time than it took to set the table. Families loved how it felt like a deli treat even on a rushed weeknight, while kids enjoyed the messy fun of eating it with both hands. Each sub tasted slow-cooked and special, proof that smart shortcuts can create a dinner worth gathering around, bringing warmth and satisfaction to the end of a long day without draining time, energy, or budget. One pan, one jar, and a handful of rolls delivered comfort that lingered well past the last bite. Swedish meatballs, or köttbullar, are small, flavorful meatballs served in a creamy gravy, often paired with lingonberry jam and mashed potatoes. This classic dish from Sweden became internationally popular, partly thanks to IKEA's food court. Swedish meatballs trace their origins back to the early 18th century, inspired by a recipe brought back from Turkey by King Charles VII. These meatballs are typically made with a mix of ground beef and pork, seasoned with onions, allspice, and white pepper. They're browned, then simmered in a rich, creamy gravy made from butter, flour, beef broth, and cream. The cozy flavor and connection to Swedish culture make them beloved. Despite their popularity, some may not know that Swedish meatballs are often part of the traditional Swedish Christmas table, known as julbord. Who agrees that nothing feels more like home than mom's macaroni and cheese? Nowadays, prepackaged mac and cheese seems to be the easiest, yet it's just as cheap and tasty to make at home using the staples in any pantry. Now, I know I have done this before, but yet another term of roux has crossed my path. It sounds super fancy and difficult, but it's not. It's a method whereby you make a thickening agent essential to any winning mac and cheese. All you need is 1 part butter and flour as the base of your meal. Then all you need is the mac and, yes, the cheese. And to think it's all thanks to Thomas Jefferson, of all people, who made this dish popular after a historical trip to France when he brought it back to America. However, it is speculated that this dish was indulged in way before then, in 1769. Mashed banana and mayo sandwiches might sound strange to modern ears, but back in the day, this sweet and tangy sandwich was a Southern staple that showed up in plenty of lunchboxes. You mashed up a ripe banana, spread it on soft sandwich bread, and added a swipe of mayonnaise. That was it. It was quick, cheap, and surprisingly filling. Families leaned on recipes like this when groceries were scarce and meals had to stretch. The banana added sweetness, the mayo gave it creaminess, and together they turned plain bread into a fast, satisfying lunch. You would find this sandwich scribbled in old community cookbooks, passed down at church picnics, or tucked into handwritten recipe boxes that lived in kitchen drawers. It might be forgotten now, but for plenty of folks growing up during hard times, this odd little sandwich was a reliable 10-minute fix when money was tight and hunger was knocking. Eggplant Parmesan bites were small baked slices of eggplant layered with tomato sauce and cheese, creating finger food that was both indulgent and convenient. These bite-sized delights appeared in Betty Crocker cookbooks as an appetizer or side dish that offered a taste of Italian-inspired comfort food. The eggplant slices were breaded and baked or lightly fried, then topped with rich tomato sauce and melted mozzarella or Parmesan cheese. The layering of flavors and textures made for a satisfying bite that was crispy on the edges and gooey on top. Eggplant Parmesan bites were popular at parties and family dinners, providing a crowd-pleasing option that was easy to serve and eat. Their warm, savory profile made them a beloved side that added a touch of elegance without fuss. This dish reflected the mid-century American embrace of international flavors adapted to home cooking traditions. Egg and potato. Hash turned scraps into a filling supper that could be on the table before the day's stories were finished. Leftover boiled potatoes were diced and tossed into a hot skillet with a bit of butter until their edges crisped to a golden brown. Eggs were cracked directly over the sizzling potatoes, their yolks breaking to coat each bite in a rich sauce as they cooked. A sprinkle of salt, pepper, and maybe a dash of paprika was all it needed. The aroma of frying potatoes and eggs promised satisfaction and thrift, a meal built from yesterday's extras and today's needs. Served straight from the pan, the hash invited everyone to eat family style, forks clinking as the steam rose. It proved that speed never had to sacrifice comfort and that the best dinners often came from making the most of what was already on hand. Pickled beet and apple sandwiches turned the picnic table into a canvas of vivid colors and flavors. Thin slices of sturdy rye bread were buttered lightly to prevent sogginess, then layered with ruby red pickled beets, whose tangy brine offered a burst of earthy sweetness. Tart apple rounds cut paper thin provided a crisp contrast, while a sprinkle of black pepper added gentle heat. When pressed together, these simple ingredients created a sandwich that was bright, juicy, and slightly unexpected. Church members who valued frugality loved this recipe because it made use of home-canned beets from last year's harvest and fresh apples from backyard trees. The striking pink juice often soaked into the bread, leaving a beautiful marbled pattern that children found fascinating, even if they approached the bold flavors with caution. Adults appreciated the balance of sweet and sour, along with the satisfying crunch that stood out amid the richer meats and casseroles. Served cool from wax paper packets, these sandwiches refreshed tired singers and hungry helpers after hours of setting up tables in the summer sun, and offered a reminder that a few honest ingredients can create something truly memorable. Apple and sharp cheddar sandwich showcased the perfect marriage of sweet fruit and strong cheese, a favorite in New England, where crisp autumn apples were plentiful cooks, sliced tart apples thinly, and layered them with aged cheddar between slices of toasted rye bread. The mild heat of the toast softened the cheese slightly, allowing it to mingle with the juice of the apple for a balanced bite. This sandwich was a lunchtime staple for farmers who needed a meal that traveled well and stayed fresh during long days in the field. Children carried it to school, wrapped in wax paper, while parents enjoyed it with a hot cup of coffee at midday. Its popularity spread beyond the Northeast during the 1950s, when supermarkets made sharp cheddar more widely available even today. The combination of sharp, savory cheese and crisp, sweet apple stands out as a timeless example of how simple regional ingredients can create a sandwich that feels both rustic and refined without any unnecessary extras. Italian sausage hoagies brought the flavor of a street fair to the dinner table with little more than a skillet and a few minutes. Pre-cooked Italian sausage links browned quickly until their casings crackled and juices sizzled across the pan. Sliced onions and bell peppers joined the heat, softening and caramelizing as they soaked up the seasoned drippings. Hoagie rolls warmed in the oven until lightly crisp on the outside and tender within. When the vegetables turned golden, the sausages nestled into the rolls, draped with the sweet pepper and onion mixture, and a light scatter of shredded provolone if desired. Each bite balanced smoky spice, soft bread, and the gentle sweetness of slow-cooked vegetables. The meal felt festive, yet required almost no effort, making it a favorite for families who wanted bold taste without a long cooking session. Served with a simple green salad or a handful of chips, these hoagies brought the spirit of an Italian street vendor into a busy kitchen, showing that fast food can still be deeply satisfying and full of character when prepared with care and served piping hot. The next we have on the list are cheese conies, which are a pretty neat twist on the idea of a typical chili dog. These were basically made to highlight Cincinnati-style chili and that earthy sourness that's exclusive to it. It was also the longest part of the dish too, and you couldn't use a microwave for this at all because each time you needed to make the chili from scratch. There weren't any shortcuts you could take, so you were looking at a good 1 or 2 hours of work, even though the assembly itself barely took around 5 minutes per plate. It was so popular in Ohio that it became the star of so many chili parlors back in the day, like Gold Star and Skyline. You couldn't go across the Ohio River Valley without stopping in at one and ordering a bowl. Of course, not everyone lived near Ohio, even if they'd pass it by on the road frequently enough, so homemade versions eventually did come out. It's still a big part of the culture of the region and a symbol of the kind of food they enjoy, though. All you needed was a grill for the hot dogs and a pot or stove for the chili, and if you ever needed to reheat it, you just need a typical saucepan. Fried okra bites were a popular Southern-inspired side dish made by breading and frying bite-sized pieces of tender okra until golden and crispy. This dish was celebrated in Betty Crocker cookbooks for its crunchy texture and distinct Southern charm, bringing a satisfying crispness to the dinner table. The okra was sliced into small rounds, dipped in seasoned cornmeal or flour mixtures, then fried in hot oil to create a crunchy exterior that contrasted with the okra's soft, slightly mucilaginous inside. Fried okra bites were a favorite at family barbecues, picnics, and holiday feasts, often served alongside fried chicken and other comfort foods. Their crispy coating and mild flavor made them a hit with kids and adults alike. This dish represented mid-century America's love for Southern flavors and the creative use of regional ingredients in everyday cooking. Fried okra bites remain a nostalgic reminder of communal gatherings filled with hearty, flavorful food. Fish stick. Po' boy brought a taste of the Gulf Coast to busy kitchens using only what sat in the freezer. packaged fish sticks baked or pan-fried until their coating turned golden and crunchy, while soft sandwich rolls warmed in the oven. Tartar sauce was stirred together with chopped pickles, a squeeze of lemon, and a little mustard, filling the kitchen with a tangy scent. Shredded lettuce and thin tomato slices waited on the counter, ready to add freshness and color. As soon as the fish sticks finished, they were stacked inside the rolls, drizzled with the cool sauce and topped with the crisp vegetables. The contrast of hot, flaky fish and chilled toppings tasted like a seaside lunch, even on a weeknight far from the water. In less than 15 minutes, a handful of inexpensive ingredients became a meal that felt special, making families forget how quickly it came together. Every crunchy bite delivered the carefree feeling of a coastal vacation without leaving the house, a reminder that a freezer staple can still capture the spirit of a faraway kitchen when imagination and hunger meet. Frosted pineapple rings were the kind of cheerful dish that caught every eye on a church picnic table in the 1960s. Thick, golden slices of canned pineapple were drained and patted dry before being chilled on a wide platter. A creamy mixture of softened cream cheese whipped with powdered sugar and a drop of vanilla was then piped or spooned into the center of each ring, forming a snowy crown that contrasted beautifully with the bright fruit. Some cooks added a cherry on top for a pop of red, while others sprinkled finely chopped pecans to give a delicate crunch. The sweet tart pineapple paired perfectly with the tangy cream cheese, making each bite a refreshing balance of flavors. Because the ingredients were inexpensive and easy to find year-round, these rings became a reliable favorite for large gatherings. They held up well in the summer heat and stayed cool inside picnic baskets packed with ice, offering a sweet treat that required no baking and almost no time. Guests often reached for them first, drawn by their glossy shine and promise of bright tropical flavor amid a spread of hearty casseroles and smoky barbecue. It was a simple dessert that tasted like sunshine and fellowship. Olive Nut Sandwich was the kind of lunch that turned a plain midday break into something memorable without costing more than a few coins. Back when cream cheese was a rare treat, people would mix it with chopped green olives and finely crushed pecans until it became a thick, flavorful spread. The salt of the olives gave every bite a briny pop, while the pecans added a faint, earthy crunch. Homemakers in the 1930s and 1940s loved this combination because it stretched a small block of cheese across many sandwiches. White bread made the perfect base since it was soft enough to absorb the filling without falling apart, and children enjoyed the smooth, creamy texture. Many church socials and small-town luncheons would feature trays of these sandwiches cut into neat triangles. They were easy to make ahead of time and kept well in a simple icebox when refrigeration was limited today. The mixture might feel unusual, but the contrast of tangy olives and sweet, nutty undertones remains striking for anyone willing to give this forgotten recipe another chance. Were convenient snacks like the classic Vienna sausage. This comes all the way from Austria, but it's something that found a home in the daily lunches of so many Americans. The best part about this was that they were these pre-canned sausages that were fresh. They were frozen, so they were cold, but they could be eaten right out of the can. You didn't need to do anything with it, so the need for a microwave was completely non-existent. A lot of people rely on the defrost mode on theirs today to get their daily sausage fill, but Vietnamese sausages didn't need you to do anything but peel off the can. They were really easy for sausage-based dishes because you didn't have to do the hours-long process of making one from scratch. If you really wanted them hot, you could just get the stove going and you would have warm sausages perfectly fit for eating. No microwave or electricity needed. Tomato soup with cracker crumble was the ultimate quick fix when groceries were low and appetites were high. You heated up a can of tomato soup, crushed some saltines over the top, and called it a meal. It sounds basic, but it hit the spot. Grandma's cookbook was full of these quick, practical recipes that stretched every last pantry staple, and this one was no exception. The saltines soaked up the soup, adding just enough crunch and thickness to make it filling. Parents loved it because it cost next to nothing and came together in 10 minutes flat. Kids loved it because it was warm, salty, and familiar. You could always dress it up with a sprinkle of cheese or some pepper, but most families kept it plain and simple. It was the kind of meal you would find after school, in chilly weather, or on those nights when there just was not time for anything else. Fast, affordable, and quietly forgotten, like so many of the recipes tucked into the back pages of Grandma's old cookbook. Country ham and red-eye gravy brought a bold, salty kick to the end of a long day, drawing on traditions that went back generations. Thin slices of country ham hit a hot skillet and sizzled until their edges crisped and their smoky scent filled the kitchen. Once the meat was removed, strong black coffee was poured into the pan to deglaze the savory bits, blending with a splash of water and a touch of butter to create the dark, rich gravy that gave the dish its name. The result was a sauce both bitter and savory, perfect for spooning over the ham or soaking into warm biscuits. In less than 15 minutes, the table held a meal that tasted slow, cooked, and soulful. Working families appreciated the speed while still honoring a Southern classic, and the sharp aroma of coffee and ham became a sign that dinner was ready. Each bite balanced salt, smoke, and a subtle bitterness, a reminder of farmhouse suppers where nothing was wasted and flavor came from skill and tradition rather than expensive ingredients. Savory banana croquettes surprised picnic guests with a mix of gentle sweetness and light savory notes that turned a humble fruit into something remarkable. Ripe bananas were mashed with a pinch of salt and black pepper, then blended with fresh breadcrumbs and a spoonful of minced onion for a subtle bite. Small ovals were formed by hand, rolled in more crumbs, and fried in a shallow skillet until each croquette turned golden and crisp. The coating stayed delicately crunchy while the center remained soft and naturally sweet, a contrast that paired beautifully with roasted meats or a spoonful of spicy relish. Served warm on simple plates, these croquettes invited conversation as everyone tried to guess the unexpected ingredient hidden within. They proved that a common fruit could shine as a savory dish when seasoned with care, showing the creativity of church cooks who were never afraid to mix the familiar with the surprising to feed a joyful crowd. Country ham and red-eye gravy brought a bold, salty kick to the end of a long day, drawing on traditions that went back generations. Thin slices of country ham hit a hot skillet and sizzled until their edges crisped and their smoky scent filled the kitchen. Once the meat was removed, strong black coffee was poured into the pan to deglaze the savory bits, blending with a splash of water and a touch of butter to create the dark, rich gravy that gave the dish its name. The result was a sauce both bitter and savory, perfect for spooning over the ham or soaking into warm biscuits. In less than 15 minutes, the table held a meal that tasted slow, cooked, and soulful. Working families appreciated the speed while still honoring a Southern classic, and the sharp aroma of coffee and ham became a sign that dinner was ready. Each bite balanced salt, smoke, and a subtle bitterness, a reminder of farmhouse suppers where nothing was wasted and flavor came from skill and tradition rather than expensive ingredients. Celery and pimento cream. Sandwich brought a cheerful burst of color to lunch tables across mid-century America, with crisp diced celery folded into soft cream cheese dotted with vivid red pimentos for a bite that was both crunchy and creamy in perfect balance. The mild heat of the pimento gave the filling a lively spark, while the celery kept each mouthful refreshing and light. This was a favorite at bridge parties and Sunday luncheons because it could be prepared hours ahead without losing its texture, and it looked beautiful, sliced into neat rectangles on silver trays. Women's magazines of the 1940s promoted it as an elegant yet economical option since both celery and canned pimentos were inexpensive, and widely available hosts loved how the sandwich appealed to children and adults alike, offering a vegetable-forward treat that still felt indulgent. Though it has vanished from most modern menus, the celery and pimento cream sandwich remains a bright reminder of creative home cooking that turned simple produce into something worthy of celebration. Texas chili dog plate made a hearty, messy dinner that satisfied every craving after a long workday. Hot dogs sizzled in a skillet while a can of chili warmed on the stove with a spoonful of cumin and smoked paprika to deepen the flavor. Soft buns were split and toasted lightly, ready to hold the hot dogs as soon as they browned. The steaming chili was spooned generously over each dog, followed by shredded cheddar and a scatter of diced onions for bite. The smell of spice and smoke filled the kitchen, drawing everyone to the table before the last dog was dressed. Each plate was a cheerful mess, requiring extra napkins and rewarding every bite with a mix of textures and flavors. It was inexpensive, quick and filling, perfect for nights when there was little time but big appetites. The combination of tender bun, juicy sausage, and rich chili sauce made this simple dish a lasting favorite in households that valued both speed and flavor. Cornflake-crusted fried bologna was one of those quick, crispy fixes that turned a plain slice of bologna into a satisfying meal in no time flat. You dredged a slice of bologna in crushed cornflakes, tossed it in a hot skillet, and fried it until the edges curled and the coating crisped up. That was it. No fancy ingredients, no complicated steps, just a fast, crunchy meal made from pantry staples. It might sound odd now, but back when budgets were tight and groceries had to stretch, this was a clever way to turn everyday bologna into something that felt a little more special. The cornflakes added crunch, the bologna sizzled up with salty flavor, and the whole thing came together in under 10 minutes. You would find this recipe scribbled into old cookbooks, passed around busy households, or whispered between neighbors looking for quick, affordable meal ideas. It might seem forgotten today, but for plenty of families back then, cornflake-crusted fried bologna was a fast, filling fix when time and money were both running short. Pickled cucumber relish was a tangy and crunchy condiment that brought zip and brightness to meals, often found alongside classic meat dishes. This relish, made from finely chopped pickled cucumbers mixed with onions and spices, was a staple in many Betty Crocker cookbooks as a quick way to add flavor contrast and freshness to the dinner plate. The sharp, acidic bite of the pickles balanced rich and savory mains, while the crunchy texture provided a satisfying counterpoint. This relish was versatile, serving as a side accompaniment, a topping for sandwiches, or a tangy addition to barbecue plates. Its bright green color and lively taste made it a beloved component of many mid-century American meals. The relish's easy preparation and long shelf life made it a practical favorite in home kitchens. It perfectly captured the era's love for bold flavors and simple, accessible recipes that elevated everyday meals. Grilled cheese with tomato soup remained the dependable duo that countless families turned to when they needed quick warmth and comfort. Thick slices of bread buttered to the edges crisped in a skillet, while slices of sharp cheddar melted between them, forming a gooey center and a golden crust. At the same time, a pot of tomato soup, whether homemade or from a can, warmed gently on the stove, its sweet aroma filling the kitchen. The sandwich was sliced diagonally for easy dipping, the molten cheese stretching slightly with each pull. Together, they made a meal greater than the sum of its parts, delivering rich flavor and childhood nostalgia in every bite. Perfect for cold evenings or busy nights, this pairing came together in under 10 minutes and required only the simplest ingredients. Families appreciated how it pleased every age and left little to clean up, proving that some classics endure because they meet every need with quiet perfection and timeless taste. Horseradish gelatin squares provided a bold finish that sparked conversation long after the last hymn. Lemon gelatin was prepared according to package directions, then blended with finely grated horseradish and a touch of vinegar while still warm. The mixture was poured into a shallow pan and chilled until firm, then cut into tidy squares that shimmered like amber glass. The first bite delivered a sweet citrus start, followed by a sudden rush of heat that cleared the sinuses and surprised unsuspecting guests. Often served alongside cold meats or seafood salads, these squares balanced richness with an invigorating kick. They traveled well in coolers and remained firm even on hot days, making them practical for outdoor gatherings. Some churchgoers approached them with caution, but quickly grew fond of their lively flavor, appreciating how they awakened the palate after a table filled with hearty fare. This dish showcased the adventurous spirit of 1960s church cooks who were never afraid to experiment and bring a spark of excitement to traditional picnic spreads. Peach and cottage cheese. Sandwich captured the cheerful sweetness of summer with canned peaches mashed gently into creamy cottage cheese for a filling that was both refreshing and satisfying. This mixture was spooned onto soft white bread, sometimes chilled beforehand for extra coolness. On hot days, the mild tang of the cottage cheese balanced the syrupy fruit, creating a flavor that felt indulgent without being heavy. Families discovered this recipe during the 1940s when canned fruit became a pantry staple and cottage cheese was celebrated for its protein content, making the sandwich both economical and nourishing. It was especially popular for picnics and garden lunches because it traveled well and stayed pleasant even without refrigeration. The peach and cottage cheese sandwich remains a sunny reminder of how simple ingredients could brighten a table and bring a taste of warm weather to any meal year-round. Grilled cheese with tomato soup remained the dependable duo that countless families turned to when they needed quick warmth and comfort. Thick slices of bread buttered to the edges crisped in a skillet, while slices of sharp cheddar melted between them, forming a gooey center and a golden crust. At the same time, a pot of tomato soup, whether homemade or from a can, warmed gently on the stove, its sweet aroma filling the kitchen. The sandwich was sliced diagonally for easy dipping, the molten cheese stretching slightly with each pull. Together, they made a meal greater than the sum of its parts, delivering rich flavor and childhood nostalgia in every bite. Perfect for cold evenings or busy nights, this pairing came together in under 10 minutes and required only the simplest ingredients. Families appreciated how it pleased every age and left little to clean up. Surf and turf was something that combined seafood, whatever was available, which could be mussels, crawfish, and catfish, or lobster, shrimp, and scallops, and mixed it in with steak. Two titans of the protein game meet together in this dish to create a board of flavors you've probably never even imagined in your wildest dreams. And all you need is a pan for the searing and a broiler. Some pretty expert chefs would be able to manage cooking both at the same time, and all in all, it took around 30 minutes max to make this dish, despite it being a pretty complex recipe with side elements involved too, like vegetables or mashed potatoes. The surf and turf, as weird of a name as that is, was a mid-20th century recipe most commonly associated with haute cuisine and luxury dining. This was the food of the richest of the rich, I tell you. It basically became popular way after microwaves had their start, and it still didn't rely on them at all. The recipe was conceived for pans and pots, basic kitchen appliances that everyone could have. You gotta remember one thing. Even if the microwave did become a popular thing immediately, not everyone had access to it. It was a lot more common in suburban homes and areas, which is why recipes that they usually used could be worked around for a microwave too. Recipes like this, though, needed to be made on stoves. Plus, lots of places already had a prominent steakhouse culture, especially big-name areas like Chicago, Washington, Texas, and Las Vegas. It was a celebratory dish. Hey, every culture is different. Some prefer pot roasts and some love their steak-fish combos. If you even had any leftovers, you'd just use a skillet. The dish itself was a perfect mix of the two different kinds of meats, and it never felt like the fish or the steak was stepping on each other's toes. Peanut butter and sweet pickle sandwiches were one of those strange combinations that somehow became a regular part of vintage kitchen routines. You spread creamy peanut butter on soft sandwich bread, added sliced sweet pickles, and pressed it together. That was it. Quick, crunchy, and a little tangy with just enough sweetness to balance it out. It sounds odd now, but back then, it was a favorite for busy lunches, quick after-school snacks, or when there was not much else in the pantry. The peanut butter gave it richness, the pickles added bite, and together they made a sandwich that stuck to your ribs and kept you going. You would find this one scribbled in old recipe boxes passed around at church picnics or quietly tucked into Grandma's cookbook among the other quirky 10-minute meals. Families leaned on this recipe because it came together fast, filled you up, and used ingredients most people always had on hand. It might be forgotten now, but for plenty of households back then, peanut butter and sweet pickle sandwiches were a surprising lifesaver when time and money were both running short. Tomato aspic was a unique savory gelatin dish that combined tomatoes, onions, and herbs set into clear aspic molds, offering a refreshing and visually striking side. This vintage recipe was popular in mid-20th century America, often featured in Betty Crocker cookbooks as an elegant yet approachable addition to the meal. The aspic's firm, jelly-like texture held the fresh tomato chunks and fragrant herbs suspended in a flavorful, savory gelatin. Served chilled, tomato aspic provided a cool contrast to warm mains and added a touch of sophistication to dinner parties and holiday spreads. The dish's translucent nature made for a colorful presentation that impressed guests and delighted the eyes. Its mix of tangy tomato flavor and subtle herbal notes created a palate-pleasing experience that was both light and satisfying. Tomato aspic is a nostalgic reminder of a time when gelatin dishes were celebrated for their creativity and flair. Texas chili dog plate made a hearty, messy dinner that satisfied every craving after a long workday. Hot dogs sizzled in a skillet while a can of chili warmed on the stove with a spoonful of cumin and smoked paprika to deepen the flavor. Soft buns were split and toasted lightly, ready to hold the hot dogs as soon as they browned. The steaming chili was spooned generously over each dog, followed by shredded cheddar and a scatter of diced onions for bite. The smell of spice and smoke filled the kitchen, drawing everyone to the table before the last dog was dressed. Each plate was a cheerful mess, requiring extra napkins and rewarding every bite with a mix of textures and flavors. It was inexpensive, quick and filling, perfect for nights when there was little time but big appetites. The combination of tender bun, juicy sausage, and rich chili sauce made this simple dish a lasting favorite in households that valued both speed and flavor. Prune and walnut pinwheels combined natural sweetness with hearty texture in a cookie that seemed far fancier than its humble origins. Pitted prunes were simmered briefly and mashed into a smooth paste, sweetened with a touch of honey and a splash of lemon juice. Chopped walnuts were stirred in for a pleasant crunch. This filling was spread across a sheet of tender pastry dough which was rolled tightly into a log and chilled until firm. Slices were cut into neat spirals and baked until golden brown, filling the air with a warm, fruity aroma. The finished pinwheels offered a balance of rich nuts and mellow fruit that paired beautifully with coffee or sweet tea. They packed well in tins lined with wax paper and stayed moist even after a day in the summer heat. Elders appreciated their old-world flavor, while younger guests enjoyed the pretty swirls and chewy bite. These cookies represented the care and creativity of home bakers who turned simple dried fruit and pantry staples into something elegant enough for any church gathering. Which vintage American recipe would you bring back to your family's table? Share your favorites in the comments, hit that like button, and subscribe so we can keep these culinary treasures alive together.